On the eastern continent of the Beastman Empire, Juicy not only carried the pure bloodline of the imperial family, but she was also the only one to receive the supreme blessing of the divine beast Honest. Because of that, she was always showered with boundless love and reverence throughout the entire royal family. From the other mighty Beastman tribes to ordinary people of all ages, everyone adored her with near-fanatical admiration. After all, Juicy was the one and only white tiger princess to appear after thousands of years of waiting. And yet, this excessive devotion left her unable to feel at ease or happy. Because hidden behind those admiring gazes was a crushing pressure weighing heavily on Juicy's shoulders, especially after she came to understand the cruel truth behind her identity. She was the princess chosen by fate, the one destined to save the entire world from the brink of destruction. But Juicy also understood that if she failed to become the great savior they expected, everyone would surely cast her aside without mercy. To put it simply, 1,000 years ago, in a world where beastmen and humans lived together in harmony, a dark divine beast appeared. It ravaged the world and began slaughtering every life it encountered. To stop it, countless humans, beastmen, and all the divine beasts joined the battle, but they were still too weak to overcome the power of darkness. And when the dark divine beast had already taken innumerable lives, the white tiger divine beast Honest finally appeared. To prevent the world's destruction, Honest ultimately sacrificed himself and vanished together with the dark divine beast. Thanks to Honest's sacrifice, the long war finally came to an end. But after the war against the dark divine beast, humanity lost faith in the divine beasts and the beastmen. In the end, they rejected the blessings of the divine beasts, abandoned them, and migrated to the western continent to build a world of their own. And so, the human empire was founded with mages and magic as its foundation, while the Beastman Empire was established separately with the White Tiger Beastmen as its pillar. Under the brilliant leadership and extraordinary strength of the emperors of the Beastman Empire through the generations, its influence expanded, and it enjoyed a glorious age of prosperity. But the imperial family of the Beastman Empire also had one grave problem, and that was the prophecy from the temple. If a white tiger was not born into the imperial family, everything would be destroyed. In other words, a terrible ancient war would break out once more. And to prepare for that day, the power of the white tiger was absolutely essential. However, this gave rise to no small amount of disagreement, because they all knew that the white tiger Honest had vanished thousands of years ago, so the birth of a white tiger beastman was considered impossible. Even so, the 13th generation emperor stubbornly clung to the hope of a miracle. But throughout the empire's hundreds of years of history, contrary to everyone's hopes, it was never easy for a white tiger beastman to be born, and the few white tigers that did come into the world usually died before reaching even 1 year old. Just when everyone seemed to be exhausted, a miracle finally occurred under the 35th generation emperor. A white tiger beastman was born. Unlike the other white tigers who had never survived a full year, Juicy, the white tiger princess born into the legitimate royal bloodline, was treasured with endless hopes and love from the moment she came into the world. She spent peaceful days waiting for her first birthday, but that happiness did not last long when she accidentally learned the reason why she had always been given so much love. As the enormous expectations placed on Juicy gradually grew heavier, she no longer felt comfortable with all that attention and affection. As the reincarnation of Honest, or at the very least, someone blessed by him, Juicy wanted to live up to everyone's hopes, but faced with her own mediocrity, she could only feel disappointed. Because unlike other beastmen, who could transform into human form at 4 months old, Juicy still could not transform even though she was nearly 1 year old. Unlike black tigers or the other royal gold tigers, Juicy did not develop quickly, nor did she possess any outstanding strength. Most importantly, she was unable to use Honest's power. She believed that if they learned the truth, even that false affection would vanish like smoke. Even though she wanted to devote herself completely to the Empire, 1 year passed, and Juicy still found no solution. Returning to the present. Even after being born more than a year ago, Juicy remained the center of attention, with Beastman tribes from everywhere constantly sending lavish gifts. Every day, she wore 3 different outfits, and not a single day's clothing was ever repeated. However, This excessive favoritism became the very source of her extreme discomfort. Still, Jussi had no choice but to endure it, because the truth was that she still could not speak. After that, they once again began the project of dressing her in 7,749 absurdly adorable outfits. This made Jussi grow increasingly tired of the overenthusiastic people around her. She decided to sneak away somewhere else to find a little peace and quiet. Staring blankly at herself in the mirror, she secretly wished she could truly become a part of Honest. But that longing still seemed far too distant for her. Unable to suppress the frustration swelling inside her any longer, Jussi quickly carried out her little escape. She wanted to get away from the Beastman tribe for a while and calmly sort through the turmoil in her heart. However, just as she happily ran off, the door suddenly burst open. The unexpected accident sent Jussi tumbling backward in shock. Holding her head, she burst into tears from pain and fright. When Jussi opened her eyes and looked toward the door, she could hardly believe the person she had just crashed into was the brilliant 35th generation emperor himself. A monarch who had defeated even his own older brother to seize the throne through ruthlessness and overwhelming power. At the same time, that mighty man was also Jussi's father. At that moment, he coldly called her name in a stern voice. But only a second later, he broke into a radiant smile and spoke to her with overwhelming fatherly affection. Jussi was left speechless, because the terrifying dignity the world spoke of was now nowhere to be seen. He was practically a clingy father who would not leave her side. Reitin walked over, scooped her up, and beamed at Jussi. "Daddy's little princess, did you miss me?" Jussi silently screamed and sighed. He really was a full-fledged, daughter-obsessed father. Gold Tiger Beastmen became the leaders of the Beastman race, not only because of their special abilities and warlike nature, but also because of the strange stubbornness they had toward whatever they loved. The more stubborn they were, the easier it was for them to achieve their goals. And the stronger the blessing they received, the deeper that stubbornness became, and the one father was most stubbornly attached to was her. This Beastman, who always maintained a majestic presence in front of others. "Daddy's Jussi. Did you miss me?" Who would have thought that in front of her, he would turn into such a fool? Reitin hugged her tightly in excitement. "How can you be this adorable?" At that moment, Jussi was struggling inwardly. "Dad, I can't breathe." Suddenly, she thought of Reitin's true nature. But this kind of care from father, it's not like I actually dislike it. At some point in the past, on a night when she lay awake worrying that she would never be able to live up to everyone's expectations, she had heard that warm, gentle hand and that soft, soothing voice. She remembered the moment when Reitin sat beside her and reached out to stroke her. "You really are my daughter. Your sleeping face looks exactly like Brianna's." Jussi had pretended to be asleep then. Not even a trace of resentment could be heard in the voice of the father who had lost the wife he loved. Instead, unlike the others who always placed expectations on her shoulders, unlike those who demanded too much, he wished for only one thing. "Daddy's little princess, all I want is for you to grow up healthy. That alone is enough for me." Jussi, still drowsing in that half-sleep, realized that only father loved her for who she truly was, and that was why she could sincerely accept that love. Back in the present, though touched, she still felt overwhelmed by Reitin's intense display of affection. "My daughter, Juja, but this kind of intense affection is really too much for me to handle. You behaved well even without Daddy here, didn't you?" Jussi squirmed unhappily in his arms. "Dad, please put me down." Suddenly, in the middle of struggling, she accidentally lost control of her strength and bit his thumb. Jussi stared at him in shock and confusion. "I couldn't control my strength. I bit too hard. I wonder if father is hurt." But that little action seemed to make Reitin misunderstand. His expression suddenly darkened. "Could it be that you're hungry?" Reitin turned his sharp gaze behind him. "She's hungry to this extent, and no one noticed? And you dare say you serve the imperial family's only princess? I'll let it pass this time, but hurry and prepare a meal worthy of the princess." The maids immediately went pale. "Yes, your majesty." Jussi murmured inwardly in explanation. "That's not it at all. Who bites only a thumb because they're hungry? Why are you exaggerating so much?" Meanwhile, Reitin continued stroking her. "Just wait a little longer, Daddy's little princess." One of the maids behind them quickly spoke up. "We will prepare it at once, your majesty. It is already the princess's mealtime. Hurry and make the preparations." Reitin looked at Jussi with eyes full of affection. "Daddy's Jussi, wait just a little longer. A delicious meal is coming soon." Sitting obediently in his lap, Jussi let out a helpless sigh. "Since I can't speak, I can't explain anything either. Sorry, everyone, before their first transformation into human form. Most young beast men cannot understand speech. I really wish I could transform into a human soon. A few days later, Juicy was happily playing with her pile of toys. She thought to herself, I never get tired of playing with toys. Whenever I focus on playing, I don't even notice how much time has passed. Suddenly, she sensed something familiar. Juicy looked around with wide, round eyes. What is this feeling? Suddenly, Reitan appeared, tilting his head with a smile. Juicy, were you good today? The moment she saw him, she cried out in delight, Daddy! Smiling mischievously, Juicy ran straight toward Reitan. Father came earlier than usual today. Reitan slowly walked toward her. Did Daddy's daughter not miss him at all? Suddenly, Juicy froze. But today, something looked a little different than usual. Surprise filled her eyes. Wait, what is that? When Reitan saw her expression, he immediately understood. You noticed right away, didn't you? He excitedly showed it off to Juicy. This pendant is made from the finest white jade. Anyone can tell who the carving on it looks like, right? At the sight of this, Juicy immediately went still. Now, he's even putting my face on jewelry? Reitan spoke teasingly. If you're already this moved, it's still too early. As soon as he said that, he held the necklace out toward her. Here, this is yours. Daddy even had a protective spell placed on it for you. Hearing that, Juicy could not help but be astonished. He even had magic placed on it. Her thoughts raced. The Penryn Empire doesn't even have mages. That means Father asked a mage from the Western Empire, didn't he? Even though I don't like wearing these cumbersome necklaces, this is a gift Father prepared especially for me. Juicy quietly moved closer to Reitan. More importantly, I'm truly happy that Father is always thinking of me like this. After placing the necklace around her neck, Reitan pulled Juicy into his arms with a doting expression. You even understood when Daddy called you. Daddy's daughter really is a genius. The steward standing behind them added, Indeed, Your Majesty, the princess truly is a genius. Reitan gazed at her, his expression full of unconcealed tenderness. I truly want to stay beside Daddy's little princess a little longer. Hearing that, Juicy softly murmured inwardly, Father isn't staying? Reitan gently set her down and replied, Not today. Standing on the floor, Juicy looked up at Reitan with innocent confusion. Why did he put me down so quickly today? Then Reitan's low voice rang out. Juicy, Daddy has to travel for a few days. During that time, you must stay safe, understood? Juicy looked at him in surprise. Travel? Thinking that it would be a long time before she saw Father again, she suddenly felt reluctant. But I have to try not to worry too much. With that thought, she put on a bright smile in response to Reitan. Have a safe trip, Father. Smile and send Father off properly on his journey. As soon as Reitan left, Juicy opened her eyes in confusion and looked at her surroundings. Where is this? I clearly just saw Father off, and I only dozed off at noon. She raised her hand in shock and stared at it. Huh, is this a human hand? Wait, does that mean? Juicy stared in astonishment at her reflection in a puddle. Did I transform into a human? She rubbed her eyes lightly and looked around. Something feels strange. Could this be a dream? Unable to believe it, Juicy even pinched her own cheek to make sure. It doesn't hurt. Then this really must be a dream. While she was still dazed, she suddenly heard a sound. What was that? Juicy blankly turned around. The wind. Suddenly, something appeared in the distance through the pure white snow. Her round eyes stared at the far-off figure. Emerging from the white veil of snow was a huge white tiger. Juicy gasped in shock. A white tiger. The pure white tiger stood towering right in front of Juicy. It was enormous, absolutely gigantic, and it radiated a strange energy as well. She wondered, why would a white tiger like this appear in my dream? Suddenly, something appeared in the distance, causing both Juicy and the tiger to turn and look. What is that? Is there something over there? She stared intently into the distance, but there was nothing there at all. With that thought, Juicy turned back toward the white tiger, but in the moment she had looked away, it had already vanished. What a strange dream. Returning to reality, a few days later, she stood by the balcony and gazed into the distance. Several days had already passed since Father left. His duties must have taken longer than expected, because he still had not returned. Her face gloomy, she looked at herself in the window's reflection. A few days ago, I even had that strange dream. Why did I dream something like that? Juicy quietly recalled that dream from days ago. It wasn't exactly frightening, but somehow the feeling was both familiar and deeply wistful. Could it be because I'm a white tiger beast man that I dreamed something like that? Why did I have that dream right when Father was away? I suddenly feel so uneasy. And on top of that, there have been more guards around the palace these past few days too. When will father return? Before he left, he even gave me a magical tool for protection. The more I think about it, the more worried I become. Father went out on an inspection tour, yet he still gave me a protective magic item. And then there was that strange dream with the white tiger. At that exact moment, when Savi saw the look on her face, she cried out in alarm. Princess, is something troubling you? Juicy squeezed her eyes shut and thought quietly, there are a lot of things troubling me. Suddenly, she jolted when she heard noise. Juicy quickly turned her gaze in that direction. Voices echoed from outside. As he returned, Juicy looked that way curiously. What is it? Why is the corridor so noisy? Then her face went blank. Usually, it only gets this loud when father comes to my palace. Could it be that father has returned? Thinking that, she immediately jumped down, and Savi standing beside her hurriedly shouted, Princess! Juicy paid no attention to what he said and quietly walked toward the corridor. Father said he would be gone for a long time, but I didn't expect him to return sooner than I thought. Suddenly, Juicy froze in terror, panic flashing through her mind. Wait, this aura isn't father's. It's completely different, sharper, rougher, and far wilder. Then who is it? Is it really the white tiger? Just as she was still thinking, Izatan suddenly appeared. With a thoroughly sinister expression, he looked at her and said, So you're still alive somehow? The one who had just appeared was Izatan Lemire Pinarin, crown prince of the Pinarin Empire and her only older brother. He was only 12 years old this year. Ever since he was 10, he had gone to the battlefield, possessing outstanding swordsmanship and extraordinary ability. Just like a member of the Pinarin royal family, he also carried their characteristic violent and fierce nature. He was especially close to the Empress and seemed to have an unusually deep attachment to her. Perhaps that was why Sophie had always warned her to be careful. Juicy recalled her mother's words of caution. You must be careful around His Highness the Crown Prince. He believes the Empress died because she gave birth to you. With that thought, Juicy lifted a resolute gaze toward Izatan. I thought he was still at the front lines. Why has he suddenly appeared here? At that moment, Izatan looked at her with utter contempt. Why did mother have to lose her life just to give birth to something like you? You still can't even take human form. You look weaker than an ordinary tiger. Hearing him say that, Juicy could only look at him in silent resentment, unable to do anything. Sadly, she thought, he isn't even trying to hide his killing intent. The atmosphere was so heavy, it was almost suffocating. Maybe he hates me even more than I thought. Right then, Sophie stepped forward and spoke cautiously. This servant greets His Highness the Crown Prince of the Pinarin Empire. I heard that your Highness completed your mission splendidly and even suppressed the pirates of the Southern Sea on your way back. Truly extraordinary. Izatan answered with a scornful look. Because of that achievement, I couldn't be by mother's side when she died, and I didn't even get to see that thing being born. What a pity. That's why I truly wanted to meet you. As he said that, he fixed his sharp gaze straight ahead. The moment he finished speaking, he stomped hard on the ground. I want to see for myself whether you really are the child from that prophecy. As soon as Izatan said that, an overwhelmingly powerful force burst from his body. At once, Sophie cried out anxiously, No, please don't, Your Highness. In a panic, she rushed toward Juicy. Princess, please get away at once. Juicy squeezed her eyes shut as her body was swallowed by Izatan's power. It's so hot. Am I going to die like this? Then she thought in shock. What is this? I don't feel any burning at all. Could it be? With that thought, she slowly opened her eyes, and Sophie gently called out, Princess, are you all right? Juicy looked at her in surprise. Sophie. Then she frantically looked around at everyone else. Not only Sophie, but Yuni as well. And even Savi's, everyone was injured. Juicy looked at Izatan in distress. They only wanted to protect me, so why did you hurt innocent people? Izatan, however, only looked at Juicy with a smug expression. What is this? How boring. Juicy let out a resentful sigh as she glared at him. He's laughing. Is this really so amusing to him? Then she made up her mind. No, I can't just stand here and watch the people I care about get hurt. Suddenly, the space around them changed. A snowflake abruptly appeared in Izatan's hand, making him stare in confusion. Izatan looked around in astonishment. What is this? Why is it suddenly snowing inside the room? At that same moment, Juicy's eyes flashed with firm resolve. I won't lose the people I love ever again. Absolutely never. Then she let out an enormous roar. Everyone in the room stared at the sight in shock. Is that blue fire in a blizzard? Has His Highness the Crown Prince's flame gone out? Seeing this, Sophie gasped. PR Princess, could it be? Has the princess used her power? Sophie was utterly stunned. And it's an ice attribute ability? Just as the prophecy foretold. The princess was the dazzling light. The brightness stung her eyes. Even Savies had to acknowledge the truth. This power is far too intense. Izaten praised Jussi's ability. So you could do this much? As expected of Penderin blood. He even teased her on purpose. Daring to resist your own older brother, our little white tiger. Well done. Once angered, Jussi held nothing back. Don't come any closer. If you dare come here, I'll destroy you. Sophie was beside herself with worry. Princess, Izaten dropped to one knee. What's wrong, little sister? He immediately softened his tone and coaxed her. I only did that to help awaken your power. I won't do that again from now on, so come here. Jussi was not entirely convinced. Will he really stop? It was hard for her to trust him right away. Besides, had he really done all of that on purpose? Jussi could feel it. His killing intent from earlier was truly gone. She cautiously stepped closer to Izaten, but I still think this is suspicious. He gentled his voice even more. From the very beginning, I wanted to say this. Little sister, Izaten happily patted Jussi on the head. Your eyes are truly beautiful, he said, making her uncomfortable. Don't touch me. He emphasized the important fact. Mother gave up her life to bring you into this world. Izaten looked at her with pity. That's right, you've never met Mother, have you? Poor little thing. Jussi felt as if she could understand something. What is this? His voice sounds so sad. Then she realized the source of the problem. Was Izaten so cold at first because he thought the child mother sacrificed her life to bear had no power at all? Jussi decided not to hold it against him. After all, Izaten was only 12 years old. Losing his mother must have been a terrible shock for him. He had apologized too, so perhaps she ought to forgive him. Izaten broke into a bright smile. Congratulations on awakening your power. But Jussi didn't really understand. My power. So he hadn't hated Jussi after all. I'm sorry for using a somewhat rough method, but the truth is, I find you both cute and talented, so I like you very much. You must be tired too, right? I'll protect you, so let's live well together from now on. Jussi was still not fully satisfied. This is so irritating. Thank you for helping me awaken my power, but Sophie almost got seriously hurt. Izaten had actually cherished Jussi all along. You were worried? I'm not foolish enough to harm the only precious youngest child mother left behind. And the others too. Jussi could not help thinking, wait, what did he just say? He then acted friendly. Isn't that right, Aunt Sophie? Jussi grew even more confused. Aunt Sophie, she wondered, is Sophie Mother's younger sister? Is that why she was able to become my nursemaid? Jussi's whole body trembled. Maybe I've been through too many shocks already. I'm feeling a little dizzy. Sophie panicked when she saw the girl faint. Princess, Izaten caught Jussi in time. It's all right, Aunt Sophie. She's only tired because it was her first time using her power. He held his little sister in his arms, the only trace Mother had left behind. Izaten truly cared for her deeply. Mother left me an incredibly lovely gift, and that gift is you. Even he had to change his mind. When I first heard you had been born, I hated you for taking Mother away from me. But once I truly faced you, all my resentment melted away. Even I was surprised. Izaten had already had a suspicion. The moment I entered the room, my power suddenly went out of control. At that time, I thought if I'm lucky, he could not be certain. Maybe I could help awaken your power. As Izaten carried Jussi in his arms, he kept blaming himself. But maybe I went too far, and now I've made you angry, little one. He had only one wish. From now on, let's live in harmony together. That way, Mother won't be sad up there either. Within her dream, the girl thought, this dream again? I wonder if I'll be able to meet that white tiger once more this time. Jussi felt a little embarrassed. Back then I didn't realize it, but that sacred energy felt exactly like when I used my power. A thought occurred to her. If that's the case, then that white tiger could really be the divine beast on us. Who is that? Jussi hid behind a bush. This dream is always filled with people I've never seen before, and that white tiger too. I think I should go closer and talk to them. What she saw made her heart ache. Is he crying? Why is he crying so sorrowfully? An idea sprang into Jussi's mind. I want to go comfort him. All right, I have this. She approached Ezekiel. Hey, Jussi was startled by how beautiful he was. He's so handsome. Jussi smiled and gave Ezekiel a flower. Cheer up. I don't know why you're crying, but do your best, okay? He reached out to accept it. Are you giving this to me? Jussi glanced behind him. Something was approaching. She could easily sense it. A terrifying and dangerous aura was drawing near. Jussi warned herself, I need to get away right now. Something had shattered the protective barrier. Ezekiel tried to make sure she was safe. It's dangerous. Juicy was utterly bewildered. What on earth is that? She quickly picked out its most striking features. It looks like the dark divine beast from legend. Black scales and glowing red eyes. The moment it flicked out its tongue, Juicy realized what it was. A giant snake. Ezekiel and the girl were now facing the snake. Juicy tried to stay calm. I want to do something, but my body won't move. If that thing attacks us. A foreboding told her that everything would become meaningless. No, don't be afraid. She steeled her resolve. I'm scared, but I have to stand up and fight. It's strange, but I feel like I have to do something. He hurriedly explained, you can't, White Tiger. You're still not strong enough to fight that thing. Ezekiel used his power to fight. I'll hold it back, so run. Juicy could not bear to leave him behind. He can't possibly stop it alone. I'll help too. We have to work together. But he was deeply worried. Get away now, White Tiger. Juicy felt as if she had frozen. Wait, White Tiger? Why has he been calling me White Tiger this whole time? To this child, do I really look like an actual tiger? Juicy had no time to dwell on it. No, that's not what matters right now. The most important thing now is... She heightened her guard. For some reason, I'm certain of this. If that snake attacks me, I'll never open my eyes again. Ezekiel did not forget to warn her. For now, we may be able to resist it, but one day it may come looking for you, so always be careful. Juicy had not even had the chance to act. Then I have to run away together with him. Her body, she was falling into a deep abyss. No, I have to help him. He looked much happier than before. Goodbye, White Tiger. Thank you for comforting me. I'll come see you again soon. Juicy jolted awake from the dream. It's dangerous. Get away. She saw her tiny hands. This is... Juicy sat bolt upright in confusion. My room. Sophie had stayed by her side the whole time to care for her. You're awake, princess? Juicy could not forget that moment. It was a dream, but I can't just dismiss it as a dream. It was too vivid. She could not help worrying, especially about that black snake. Just thinking of it makes my whole body tremble with fear. Juicy tried to judge it calmly. The White Tiger gave off a sacred energy. She could feel it, and that black snake carried a horrifying aura. Why did I have a dream like that? Juicy could only connect the events together. The black snake appeared on the very day I awakened my power. Could I really be the child from the prophecy? She wanted more information. Now that my power has awakened, I need to start properly investigating the prophecy. Juicy felt utterly bewildered. What is this? Why is even Sophie, who is always so calm, reacting like that? Ezekiel's words echoed in her mind. Because one day it may come looking for you. Always be careful. Fear began to rise in Juicy. Why are those words echoing in my head right now of all times? She did not dare think too deeply about it. Could that black snake really be coming for me? The door to the room had not been fully shut. Juicy was so tense that sweat broke out across her body. It's here. Then she let out a sigh of relief. It's Father. Thank goodness. I was so tense, I didn't even realize it was Father. Ray-Ten came to ask after his daughter. It's been a while, Juicy. How have you been? Juicy openly expressed her feelings. Father, I missed you so much. He gently picked Juicy up. I heard you awakened your power today. Juicy wanted Ray-Ten to praise her. Yes, I awakened my power. I did well, didn't I? He affectionately hugged Juicy. My daughter has grown so quickly, hasn't she? Immediately, she called out insistently, Father. Juicy could not understand it all. Normally, Father would definitely praise me. So why does the atmosphere feel completely different this time? Did something happen? A few hours earlier, in the Imperial Palace's secret council chamber, Ray-Ten had confirmed the matter. The condition of the honest birch tree is currently far from good. As for how the honest birch trees came to be, after sealing the dark divine beast, Honest's body shattered into pieces, and those fragments fell in 36 places across the eastern continent and the western continent. Wherever those fragments landed, birch trees began to grow, and they came to be called the honest birch trees. Because these were trees inhabited by Honest's soul, sustaining life for a long time. Any problem with them was regarded as a sign that destruction was approaching. Ray-Ten believed this was highly abnormal. During this latest inspection, I had discovered that the honest birch tree in the Logat River Basin has died. Everyone was thrown into confusion. What does this mean? How could that sacred birch tree end up like this? And of all places, the Logat River Basin. Ray-Ten shared the gravity of the situation. After Juicy was born, I received reports that the number of diseased trees had been steadily increasing. He had put a plan into action, and when I realized how serious the situation was, I finally set out in person to inspect the honest birch trees. This time, my destination was the Logat River Basin. Even Raiden could hardly believe it. And there I found the honest tree in that condition. The moment he heard that, Izaton immediately identified the significance. If it's the Logat River Basin, then that borders the Western continent, and it is also considered the most likely place where the Dark Divine Beast was sealed, correct? Raiten agreed with his son's assessment. That's right. Unlike Honest, who still remains in the form of the Honest birch trees, the Dark Divine Beast has never revealed either its body or the place where it was sealed. Raiten had not given up easily. That is why, for a very long time, I have tracked and investigated suspicious locations. Among them, the place considered most likely is the Logat River, known as the River of Death. Everyone fell into bewilderment. The honest birch tree withered right beside that river. Does that mean the omen of destruction is approaching? How could the seal, which remained stable for all this time, suddenly? One person spoke up with a grim speculation. If Honest truly reincarnated as Her Highness the Princess, and if the Dark Divine Beast really was sealed in that river, then Honest being reborn would have weakened the seal's bindings, which would explain everything happening now, would it not? Adesix deliberately shifted the blame onto Juicy. From the very beginning, the honest birch tree only started to wither after the princess was born, correct? Talbot grew even more curious. You mean the princess is not merely a divine beast blessed by Honest, but Honest's very reincarnation? The man with glasses boldly declared exactly. The prophecy's mention of the birth of a white tiger may well refer to Honest's reincarnation. He broke it down point by point. Besides, unlike the other white tigers who died young, the princess is remarkably healthy, is she not? And despite her tender age, she has already awakened her power. The bespectacled man still did not think that was a problem. If this hypothesis is true, then even if the seal is broken, it will not matter. He confidently laid out his reasoning. If the princess is made the center of the prophecy, then the disaster can be stopped. Raiten could not hold back any longer and smashed the arm of his chair with a punch. He completely rejected such a dangerous idea. Do not hide behind my daughter. The assembled ministers did not dare say another word. Forgive us, your majesty. Please pardon this servant. Izadin did not want Raiden to grow angrier. Please do not worry too much. Father, we have a powerful military, one that takes pride in its history and traditions. He stepped forward to defend Jussi. Besides, I too have received Honest's blessing, so there is no need to make Jussi the center of it, your majesty. Izatin turned to calm him. So please settle down. Adesix let out a quiet sigh of relief. The crown prince just saved us. Raiten had already made his decision. I have no intention of placing the burden on any one person alone. Therefore, I will work together with the Realberg Empire to establish countermeasures against the Dark Divine Beast. Adesix jolted in shock. Your Majesty, the Realberg Empire? They are humans. They have kept their distance from us out of disdain. How could they possibly agree to cooperate? Adesix, Duke of the Firebear and the fourth lord among the Divine Beast clans, was stunned. Raiden was certain it would succeed. The Empire of the Western Continent will have no choice but to accept this request. If the Dark Divine Beast escapes its seal, that land will no longer be safe either. Raiten could no longer remain still. No, perhaps it would be more accurate to say that the assault on Ryerberg has already begun. Izatin's face turned pale. Already begun? What do you mean by that? Raiten revealed what he had uncovered. A few years ago, I heard that the Emperor of Ryerberg was assassinated, and that a new emperor has already ascended the throne. Nothing escaped Adesix. The great mage of Ryerberg? He felt something was deeply wrong. How could that be? The Ryerberg Empire was built around the Magic Tower, so they revere the strongest mage as emperor. Among the people of that empire, no one would have any reason to assassinate an emperor who is also the great mage, and no one should even be capable of doing such a thing. In other words, the one who assassinated the previous emperor could not possibly have been one of the empire's own people. And the timing coincided exactly with when the honest birch tree turned black. Raiten was not yet certain, but he believed all suspicions would become clearer once they met the emperor of the Western Continent in person. Izadin wanted to know more. What kind of person is this new emperor? Raiten had found nothing. Even on the Western Continent, the emperor's death likely caused such shock that our spies have struggled to gather any information on the new ruler. Raiden could only speculate based on what he knew. In any case, according to their customs, the strongest mage becomes emperor. He decided they should join hands for mutual support. Whoever the new emperor may be, I will formally propose the establishment of diplomatic relations. Reitan assigned the matter to his ministers. Prepare an envoy based on the information I have given you. They obeyed his order. Yes, Your Majesty. Izadin was still somewhat concerned. Your Majesty, humans and beast folk have had no contact for a very long time, so we have no idea what they may demand from us. He asked Reitan for his opinion. What they set unreasonable conditions. Reitan answered firmly. Even so, I will be prepared to make concessions. Izadin trusted his father's decision. Just as you say, father. Then I will prepare accordingly. Reitan was determined to do everything in his power to protect the little girl. I will never let Juicy be sent onto the battlefield. Juicy was held tightly in Reitan's arms. Father. He could not accept the minister's solution. A small child cannot be used to stop a massive monster like that. Reitan would never allow her to be hurt. If anything truly happens to Juicy, I will never forgive it. He found himself at a loss for words. Reitan truly loved Juicy deeply. Juicy, even if your power has awakened, you do not need to force yourself to do anything. The little girl asked blankly, I do not need to try. But Juicy kept thinking, if that snake really is the dark divine beast, and if I truly have received Honest's blessing, just the thought of it made her shrink back. In the end, I will have to face it and fight it. Reitan noticed her unease. What is it, Juicy? Is it a little cold tonight? She did not want him to worry. I just suddenly feel a little anxious, that is all. Reitan was very attentive. Then let us go inside. I cannot have my precious daughter catching a chill. The little girl called out silently in her heart, Father. Juicy became aware of her responsibility. All right, when such important people are by my side, I have to become stronger. The power that awakened in me exists to protect them too. She made a promise to herself. I will use my own strength to protect them. Father really is the best. Juicy began making plans. To do that, I first need to learn how to use the power I have awakened. Tomorrow morning, I need to see my brother. The next day, at the princess's palace, Izadin was much gentler than before. Can you understand what I am saying? Of course I can. I am your big brother, after all. Juicy felt a little wronged. Normally, no one understands what I say. He cheerfully chatted with her. Maybe we siblings are just special. The little girl urged Izadin, since you understand me now, hurry and teach me how to use my power. This was important. Among everyone around her, the only person who both knew how to use special abilities and understood her speech was Izadin. He was still a little shy. You want me to teach you how to use your power? Juicy grew excited. Exactly. Just having someone understand what I am saying already makes all that old frustration disappear. Izadin got straight to it. All right, the more methods we try, the better. First, try using your power again right in front of me. The little girl shut her eyes to focus. All right, Juicy strained stiffly. Why is nothing happening? Savies beside her cheered her on. You can do it, princess. But Juicy was unhappy. No matter how many times she tried, the result was the same. Izadin called her name. Juicy. Juicy suddenly felt afraid. I cannot feel any power at all. What is going on? Savies insisted firmly. What we saw that day was definitely Honest's power. Juicy was at a loss. What in the world is happening? Sophie was also puzzled. Why could she not use it? Juicy stood there in a daze, unable to believe it. Why will my power not appear? She felt lost. I believed in this power so much. Juicy was utterly disappointed. Was it all just a coincidence? What should I do now? She could not accept the cruel reality. If this continues, I will be completely useless. Izadin cared for Juicy deeply. I am sorry, Juicy. He realized his mistake. You must be the most frightened one here, yet we were too insensitive. Izadin lifted his little sister into his arms. Do not worry so much. Juicy was about to call his name. Izadin, he told Juicy not to be so tense. You may simply have awakened your power too early, so it has not stabilized yet. Once a power has awakened, it never disappears, so do not worry too much. That reassured her somewhat. Yes, Izadin is right. Maybe I'm just not used to using it yet. Izadin devoted himself fully to helping her. In that case, starting today, we officially begin special training. He demonstrated and had Juicy follow along. All right, like this. Clench your fist and put all your strength into it. Juicy copied Izadin. Like this, he carefully instructed her. No, focus the power into your eyes or else. A few days later, at the princess's palace, training continued day after day, but Savies and Yuni both encouraged her. Princess, please try one more time. You will definitely succeed. Juicy was exhausted. It is not working at all. Sophie sighed to Izadin. Even though she trains every day until late at night, her power still will not appear, so the princess remains very anxious. He called out, Princess. Sophie urged Juicy to pull herself together. Please lift your spirits, your highness. Juicy sprawled on the floor. Why still will it not appear? Izadin had not expected things to turn out like this. What should we do now? The little girl cried until she had no tears left. He fell silent in thought for a long while. Izadin then picked Juicy up and comforted her. Aunt Sophie, please do not worry too much. There, stop crying. Sophie could not help but worry about the crown prince. He decided to change the training environment. Juicy, today will be a little different. Let us train outdoors. Juicy was very surprised. Train outdoors? The weather today is lovely. Izadin grandly announced. Today's special lesson is... He then laid down on the grass, resting. Juicy was taken aback. When he brought me to the flower garden, I wondered what he was planning. She still could not quite believe it. We are really just resting? Izadin gave a short explanation. To use your power, your mind must be completely calm. So today, all you need to do is lie here quietly. Juicy still found it suspicious. This feels a little questionable, but she obediently laid down beside Izadin. Well, I will trust him for now and do as he says. Juicy seemed to relax a little. I only came to lie here because of Izadin, but being this quiet makes my heart feel strangely peaceful. She remembered clearly. These are the same kind of flowers that appeared in my dream. Juicy was full of questions. Come to think of it, who was that child who appeared in my dream? He even recognized my true form. Why did he protect me from the dark divine beast? She could not learn anything more. Ever since then, that child has continued to appear in my dreams, but I have never had the chance to ask who he really is. Juicy rolled back and forth on the ground. This is so frustrating. Izadin took it upon himself to help her. She must be stressed because of her power. As her older brother, I have to help ease her worries. He began lecturing her. Do not worry. Training your power is supposed to make you look cool. Even the name Honest sounds impressive and majestic. Juicy could only stare helplessly at her brother Izadin. She judged the situation objectively. He is talking nonsense, and his eyes look a little vacant compared to usual. Even so, Izadin was completely serious, so there's no need to rush. Juicy finally realized it. He's trying to comfort me because he is worried about me. Is that it? The little girl spoke to reassure Izadin. My first impression of you is not very good, but after training together, I understand now. Yes, I will not worry anymore. Only now did she realize that Izadin was truly concerned for her. He patted Juicy on the head. Good girl, Juicy. Then someone's voice called out urgently, We found you, princess. The little girl smiled brightly in response. Sophie, Yuni, and Savi's too? Savi's skillfully praised her. Well now, is this flower not just as lovely as the princess herself? Yuni had brought refreshments. I even brought the cookies you like, princess. Sophie gently explained. Resting is also part of training. Juicy felt warmth spread through her heart. Everyone is worried about me. Juicy looked up at them. They truly cared about her, even though she still could not use her power today. She cherished the affection of the people dear to her. Starting tomorrow, I will train with a fresh spirit, so I can protect this happy life. In a relaxed atmosphere, Yuni smiled and asked, Princess, are you happy today? In Yuni's gentle voice came another offer. Please try some of this as well. Izadin, meanwhile, had grown rather thoughtful. Time passed until sunset, and at the Crown Prince's palace, a voice called out, Your Highness the Crown Prince. The man in the black shirt continued. I clearly heard that the princess completed today's training smoothly. It was his assistant. The count sounded puzzled. Then why are you so displeased that you have turned your office into a battlefield? In response to the question, Izadin answered while pressing a hand to his head. According to father, claw marks from a wild beast were found on the withered trunk of the honest birch tree. That must have been the work of the dark divine beast after awakening from its seal. After saying that, he covered his face gloomily. Ever since I heard that, I keep having nightmares about that thing. Dreams of kidnapping and assassination leave me frozen in place. So his attendant tried to reassure him. Your Highness, there is no need for such worry. From the guard knights to the maids, everyone is protecting the princess's palace, and they are all elite warriors. They are powerful beast folk, each skilled in special abilities. The captain of the princess's guard, Lord Savor, is from the Green Anaconda family, a fourth-generation divine beast bloodline. Even if the dark divine beast were to charge in, it would not be a problem. Talbot added, besides, the fact that it left traces behind yet still has not appeared must mean there is something wrong with it. Even after hearing all of that, Izadin still replied anxiously, I know that too. But then he returned to his dejected state and cried out, but how can I not worry? Those nightmares feel as if they are warning me what is going to happen. His assistant could only sigh. Please listen to me a little. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. He reacted at once. Who could that be? Komin. A soldier opened the door, and she entered softly. Greetings, Your Highness the Crown Prince. Seeing her, Izadin exclaimed, Aunt Sophie, what brings you here? She answered, I have come to bring a gift for Your Highness. When she held it out, both men gasped in surprise and admiration. A bouquet of flowers. He stepped forward at once. Standing close to Sophie, he asked, Why is there a bouquet here? She answered happily, This is a gift the princess sent to Your Highness. He was taken aback. A gift for me? As he took it into his arms, he listened to Sophie's explanation. Yes, a little while ago, she noticed that you seemed tired, and she was likely very worried. So, as thanks for helping her train her power and to help lift your spirits, she prepared this gift. His heart trembled. While I was doing nothing but crying, she prepared this for me. Hugging the bouquet more tightly, he made a firm vow. I will never be weak again, and I will definitely protect you. Just like that, his mood brightened considerably, and he instructed Sophie, Aunt Sophie, please tell her that I receive her flowers and that I already feel much better. Sophie readily agreed. Yes, Your Highness. Lying in bed under a blanket, Juicy was still a little concerned. I hope you receive my bouquet. I'm about to go to sleep, so I could not deliver it myself, and I cannot stop thinking about it. Before long, the little girl drifted off. My dreams have been strange lately. Tonight, I just want one good deep sleep. The dreamscape was once again the lakeside. As expected, it is the same familiar dream. Following the dirt path, she knew very well that if she kept going like this, she would meet that boy again as usual, and sooner or later the black snake and the white tiger would appear. Whenever she tried to have a serious conversation, the black snake would show up, so she had almost no chance to ask about his identity. Then, after just a little while, there he is. Beneath the beautiful flowers, he spoke first. Hello, little white tiger. And Juicy steeled herself. Today, I'm definitely going to find out the answer. The two of them sat together on a log. The mysterious boy asked gently, Have you been well? Then he patted her on the head. I am so glad to see that you're healthy. Still in her tiger form, the little girl cried out in reply, You keep getting interrupted, so I have never been able to ask. She stared at him intently. Who are you? A chill ran down her spine as she shrank back uneasily. That feeling again. The black snake had appeared once more. She couldn't speak. Her tense body only let out a tiger's cry. Run, it's coming. But the black-haired boy remained quite calm. It's okay. Don't worry. The little girl had made up her mind because she couldn't let them be separated like this again. He immediately summoned crackling chains of lightning and promised, I will definitely protect you. Standing in front of them, the black-haired boy warned, So step back. With a confident gaze, he said, It's a shame, but today this is as far as our meeting can go. The scene beneath their feet suddenly changed under the thick snow, and he told her, Leave this place to me. Hurry and go. The girl felt disappointed. In the end, this time too, I didn't get to ask. Her small body frowned from the cold, and in the middle of the snowstorm, she heard a voice calling, Princess, Princess. It startled her awake. The girl wiped her face and muttered in frustration. It ended the same way again. The person beside her had already been waiting there, looking worried and confused. Why do I keep dreaming the exact same dream over and over? Not knowing the reason only bothered her more. Then Sophie spoke. Good morning, Princess. She added, You've been talking in your sleep a lot lately. Are you perhaps having some interesting dream? Caught red-handed, the girl's cheeks turned bright red as she stammered. Talking in my sleep? That's so embarrassing. And then there was him, the Count. Why would he be here at this hour? What was going on? Speaking on his behalf, someone announced, Princess, His Highness the Crown Prince, said to thank you for the bouquet yesterday. Then he pointed to the side and added, He returned the gesture with this. She stared in shock. That, before she could prepare herself, the attendant set it down right beside her. It was a bouquet made entirely of gemstones, enough to buy a mansion by imperial standards. It was dazzling. What is this? Holding it, the girl froze. He really just left it like this and walked away. Not to be outdone, when father heard about it, he gave me an honest statue as a gift. The two of them are exactly alike. Truly, like father, like son. She stood frozen for about 5 seconds, then flopped onto the floor. Seeing that, the attendants whispered among themselves, Those two really adore the princess. If the princess ever gets a lover, that would be a real disaster. Hearing that, someone frowned. When that time comes, those two will definitely worry themselves sick. Then they huddled together fearfully. Just imagining it is already terrifying. They even clung to each other and cried. That's still far too distant a future. Exactly. Our princess is still this tiny and innocent. All she could do was sigh. What in the world is everyone thinking? I should just go see him. She skipped outside, where he was already waiting. Let's go train. In her head, the girl calculated that the urgent thing now was to master her power and learn to transform into a human freely. So she continued practicing her supernatural ability regularly, but Izadin patiently instructed her, "You need to reach out your hand and release your power like this. Do you understand the feeling?" Even though she tried hard to imitate him, her own power still wouldn't activate. Meanwhile, Father had begun seriously tracking the Dark Divine Beast, but all they found were more traces of withering, honest birch trees. In the end, they could only return in disappointment, with no meaningful results. And so, at a table piled high with sweets, someone suddenly leaped forward and cried out, "Princess!" The little girl was clutching an entire cake when someone shouted in alarm. Oh no, she fell into the cream cake. The days that followed were uneasy yet peaceful at the same time, and the dreams about that boy always unfolded in the same order. The people around her kept trying their best to help her use her power. She was taught all sorts of things, and yet she was still the same. It feels like I can sense my power now, or maybe not. As time passed, the boy became faster and more skilled at subduing the black snake, and as the girl watched, she thought, "He's amazing." By contrast, her own abilities and physical growth remained at a standstill, though her family didn't pressure her much. Then one day, the frequency of that dream started to decrease. The dream about the boy and the battle. As he pushed the monster back with his power, he called out, "White Tiger, perhaps I'll be able to meet you soon." And after those meaningful words of farewell, she stopped dreaming that dream altogether. Time passed so quickly that before I knew it, I had already turned 2 years old. Her sparkling eyes reflected the innocent thoughts of childhood. At the age of 2, the stripes on her body had become more distinct, and her cries had grown louder as well. The little girl stretched lazily, still so tiny. I wonder when I'll be able to grow as big as father or brother. Just then, Sophie entered the room and called out, "Princess." There was a trace of worry in her voice. "You can't just stand here without getting ready to receive your guest." Looking up with wide, puzzled eyes, the girl asked, "What do you mean, a guest?" Sophie smiled gently and explained, "Really, Princess, today you're going to prepare a gift for the Emperor's upcoming birthday together with the Crown Prince." The little girl froze, mouth open in shock. "That's right, today's the day." Sophie came over and gently patted her head. "Princess, you completely forgot." Gazing into space, the girl told herself that she absolutely must not forget Father's birthday present. Memories from last year suddenly came rushing back. Recalling what had happened then, she remembered that last year she had forgotten to prepare a gift, and so, "Father, please stop being angry. Today makes 3 days already. Princess, please help me." Because Father stayed angry for 3 whole days, all the officials and guests in the palace had suffered terribly. Then someone approached from behind and added, "The Crown Prince has already arrived at the princess's palace." She nodded and replied, "He's here already? I'll get ready right away." A new determination flashed through the girl's mind. "This year, I won't let that happen again. I'm going to ask brother to help me prepare the gift." Curious, she wondered, I wonder what he prepared. He doesn't have to keep it that secret from me, does he? At that moment, a voice called out, "I'm here." A servant respectfully announced, "Welcome, Your Highness the Crown Prince." He sat down on the floor and said, "Come on, just write whatever you want." The girl's eyes lit up as she answered excitedly, "This is a handmade birthday card for me. I'm going to make it quickly, so give me the paints." Sitting beside her, Sophie gently asked, "You mean the paint palette, right?" Raising her hand eagerly, she replied, "That's right. Lately, not only brother, but everyone seems to understand what I'm saying now." Juicy's tiny hand dabbed a little color from the palette and slowly painted onto the blank sheet in front of her. Making something by hand is a little troublesome, but then Izatan arrived carrying a pile of things and said, "I brought Father's birthday gift here." The little girl looked up curiously. "What did you bring? I mean, Father has nothing but money, so what else could he possibly need?" He laughed and replied, "It's the thought that matters. Let's make a birthday card." Slightly surprised, she thought, "That's really clever." She comforted herself. A handwritten letter from brother does sound a little enviable, but I'll get one on my birthday too, so it's fine. Let's do this. She was filled with happiness. How happy will Father be? Pure sincerity and love can't be exchanged for any amount of gold or jewels. After a while, Izatan spoke. "Have you heard the news?" Resting a hand on his knee, he continued, "I heard that a delegation from the Ryerberg Empire will be attending Father's birthday banquet, and the entire delegation consists of mages." The girl excitedly raised her hand and answered, "Brother, I know. I heard about it too. 2 years ago, Ever since trade began with the Ryerberg Empire, humans and great mages have become the most talked about subject in the Penneran Empire. Yuni, sitting on a chair, looked up and asked, I heard that human mages can freely use many different attributes. Savi's, one hand on her hip, replied, how could that be possible? Even beast folk can't do that. Izaten slowly explained, mages obviously can. Mages aren't restricted to a single attribute. One person can use multiple attributes at the same time. After pausing for a moment, Izaten continued, unlike beast folk who are born with fixed attributes from the start, right? Startled, someone blurted out, where did you come from all of a sudden? Savi's also cried out in shock, you startled me. Juicy sat properly on Yuni's lap, lost in thought, not bound by attributes, just like that boy. Hearing that, Savi said, being able to use multiple attributes at once. Mages are incredible. Izaten listened, then explained, depending on their level, most people can only use one or two attributes at the same time, but a great mage can use more than 3 simultaneously. He raised a hand and rubbed his chin. Then the Emperor of Ryerberg must also be a great mage, so he can definitely use multiple attributes at once. Savi sighed in admiration. Hearing that, he really does sound amazing. But since I've never seen actual magic, it's hard to really grasp it. Though Yuni and Savi's listened with great interest, the more Juicy learned about magic and mages, the more one person kept appearing in her mind. Smiling with narrowed eyes, she secretly rejoiced. If that boy is a mage, then maybe I'll be able to meet him again soon. I heard that at Father's birthday banquet, besides the envoys, mages from other countries will also be attending. Izaten bent down to look at Juicy, his tone tinged with suspicion. What's with that expression? Juicy, you're hiding something from me, aren't you? Turning her back to him, Juicy thought he's so sharp. Juicy quickly turned around and said, I need to distract Izaten somehow. I'm done. Look, she pointed at the card on the floor. The world's first birthday card from the White Tiger Princess. Complete. Well done. As expected of whose little sister you are. Seeing it, Sophie couldn't help but praise her. The princess truly is a genius white tiger. Izaten's cheeks flushed slightly as he quietly reminded her, be sure to roll up the birthday card carefully and bring it with you, okay? Juicy quickly replied, don't worry, I'll carry it carefully. Sophie picked Juicy up in her arms and asked, Princess, shall we let the crown prince head back now? He's busy preparing for the banquet and still made time to visit you. He answered cheerfully, if Juicy asks, of course I have to come. Then he added, and Juicy, Izaten raised a hand in farewell and said, make a birthday card for me too, all right? Savi's pretended not to care, but inwardly she thought, I'm so jealous. I want a birthday card from the princess too. Juicy waved back with a smile. That's easy. All right, princess, it's time for your bath. A few days later, on the day of Emperor Raiden's birthday banquet in the Penneran Empire, voices rang out non-stop throughout the palace. Have all the gifts for the delegations been prepared? Move those decorations over there. Where is His Highness the Crown Prince? Standing on the balcony and looking down below, the little girl thought, this is the first time I've ever seen the palace this crowded. The birthday banquet is about to begin, so even the guests staying in other palaces must be gathering here now. Juicy glanced around, but she still couldn't see the Ryerberg delegation anywhere. Will they arrive on time? A trace of anticipation showed on her childish face. Since he might come too, I've ended up paying even more attention to that delegation. The girl shook her head lightly. What am I even thinking? At this rate, it's like I'm just waiting for him. Juicy reminded herself, today is Father's birthday. Focus on making Father happy. This is also my chance to make up for last year's gift incident. Suddenly, a voice called out, Princess. Then Yuni asked, Princess, which one do you like best? The girl turned and headed toward the door. I'm coming. Just wait a moment. Holding a crown in her hand, one attendant said, of course the princess will prefer the blue jeweled crown that matches her eyes, right? Standing beside her, another maid added, but what about the crown with red gems? It would make the princess stand out more. A little troubled, Juicy replied, they're both pretty, so either one is fine. I'm already tired, and this has barely started. Suddenly, the girl had a thought. Once I can transform into a human, they'll probably fuss over me even more, won't they? Yuni turned and said, I told you blue. The maid refused to yield. No, it has to be red. Juicy quietly slipped away, calculating to herself. I need to run for it. If they keep dressing me up in all these different things, it's definitely going to turn into chaos. Outside on the balcony, the sunlight blazed gold. 1 hour before Emperor Raiden's birthday banquet, Juicy sat neatly in her chair, already annoyed by all the accessories. especially because of Izadin. Holding a box in both hands, Izadin walked over. Since you chose a matching necklace set with father, then wear a matching bracelet set with me. A guard hurried over to report, Your Highness the Crown Prince, you need to enter the banquet soon. With a weary expression, the girl silently cheered him on. Good luck, Count Talbot. Izadin smiled brightly. Hurry up, Jussi. Jussi muttered to herself. The Pennerin royal family is strange. Today, father is the main character, and yet they're putting all these jewels on me. Her cheeks flushed pink, but still, I don't dislike all this affection. From behind her, Sophie announced, Princess, it's time to enter the banquet. Jussi followed after her. Savies was carrying father's birthday card for her, so it would definitely be delivered soon. Father will surely be happy when he sees it, right? The thought made the little girl smile with her eyes closed. He might even cry from being so touched. Imagining that scene, Jussi told herself, if that happens, it would be wonderful. Suddenly, the view in front of her blurred. An earthquake? Something feels really strange. Sophie, help me. The girl looked around in panic. What is this? I can't see anything. Jussi only felt a growing discomfort inside her, and on top of that, it was getting harder and harder to breathe. Her face turned bright red, and her breathing became ragged. What in the world is happening to me? It hurt as though someone were tearing her body apart. Her whole body locked up. If this keeps going, I might die. Jussi forced her eyes open. Wake up. I can't collapse like this. I promised I would protect the people precious to me. Sophie stopped in horror and cried out. Princess. When she saw the little girl, trembling all over before collapsing onto the floor, she screamed, Princess. Cradling Jussi in her arms, Sophie urgently shouted, Hurry, inform the Emperor at once. Go quickly. She gently stroked the girl's body with one hand. Princess, please hold on just a little longer. Tears slipped from Jussi's eyes as she whispered, Father. Father's going to worry so much. And today is Father's birthday too. She kept calling out, Father. Rayton bent over her, his voice full of worry. Jussi, wake up. Izadin stood beside him, his face twisted with distress. Jussi, open your eyes. In her haze, the girl thought, Izadin is here too. He immediately gave the order, take Jussi to the physician's room at once. Jussi stirred faintly and tried to speak. I'm okay, Father. Her voice weakened. I just wanted to give Father the birthday card with my own hands. This time you won't be mad at me anymore, right? Cradling her carefully, Rayton softly called, Jussi. She whispered as her eyes closed. You have to accept it. A few hours earlier, before Emperor Rayton's birthday banquet in the Pennerin Empire, as the exchange between Pennerin and Ryerberg, between humans and beast folk, was about to begin, Savies came running urgently from afar and shouted, Your Majesty. Rayton turned and asked, What is it? Out of breath, she answered, The princess. Just those two words were enough to make him freeze on the spot. The princess has collapsed. That sentence echoed over and over in Rayton's mind. The princess has collapsed. He swept his cloak aside, his voice full of alarm. How is Jussi's condition now? The priests hurriedly answered, We are continuing to pour divine power into her, but the princess's condition still has not improved. Izadin's eyes were red as he struggled to contain himself. Stop talking and treat Jussi right now. The group of priests bowed their heads and answered, Yes, Your Highness. Rayton stood there in silence, staring at the scene before him. The fact that every priest in the imperial palace had gathered here proved that this was no minor situation. He clenched his fists, blaming himself. If only the priest's abilities had been stronger, or if there was some other power just as strong. Then a thought suddenly flashed through Rayton's mind. Wait, what if we use the royal treasure? He continued thinking. The treasure contains the blessing of a divine beast, so it should be able to amplify supernatural power and holy power. If the priest's holy power is combined with the treasure, then it should definitely be able to heal Jussi. Rayton's gaze turned sharp as he spoke. Go, bring the treasure here at once. The young man looked up in confusion. Do you intend to use the treasure for treatment, Father? Izadin anxiously reminded him, If anything goes wrong, we may lose it forever, Your Majesty. Rayton replied coldly, Then are you saying I should just watch my daughter, the princess of this empire, slowly waste away and die? With that, he turned as if to leave. If none of you can do it, then I'll go get it myself. At that moment, an unfamiliar voice rang out. There will be no need for that. Emperor of Pennerin, I will treat the princess. Izadin immediately gripped the hilt of the sword at his waist. Judging from the clothes, The speaker seemed to be one of the people from the Ryerberg delegation. But Reitan stopped in his tracks and said sternly, "Only those with permission may enter this place." No matter how focused I was on Jussi, I should have noticed someone approaching. "Reveal your identity." The person raised both hands and removed his cloak. "Greetings to the son of the Penterin Empire." Ezekiel looked at the man before him and said, "Please forgive my unauthorized intrusion. It seemed that you were in need of my help, so I came." Reitan raised a hand to stop Izaton from drawing his sword. A child who looked no older than 8, yet carried such strange authority. Then the boy's voice rang out slowly. "I am a Grand Mage from the Ryerberg delegation." Ezekiel raised his hand and let his magic flow. "And also the Emperor of Ryerberg. My name is Ezekiel I Ryerberg." Reitan examined the figure before him. That was indeed the imperial signet ring of the Emperor of the Ryerberg Empire. So it was true. So long as one possessed the strength, anyone could sit upon the imperial throne. The people around them could not help but stare in shock. A child that small was really the Emperor of Ryerberg? Meanwhile, the current of magic had already begun moving toward the unconscious Jussi. Someone turned and cried out, "Wait, the plants are moving toward Jussi." Hearing that, he spun around, his eyes full of shock. What in the world was happening? Reitan's voice dropped in warning. "You dare use magic on my daughter?" Ezekiel stood straight, unafraid. "The White Tiger Princess is someone extremely important, is she not?" He said firmly, "I came here to heal her." A smile appeared on Ezekiel's face. "I'll explain the details later. For now, please leave this to me." Then the little girl suddenly called out, "Father." Reitan pressed his lips together, his eyes wavering. Jussi's breathing was gradually becoming steady. Was this Emperor's healing magic really working? Folding his arms across his chest, Reitan said gravely, "Understood. Please take care of our Princess Jussi." Ezekiel bent down beside the little girl and whispered, "Hang in there just a little longer." He closed his eyes and concentrated as he poured magic into her. "I'll help you, White Tiger." Jussi stood in the middle of an unfamiliar place. She walked slowly, looking around. "Where am I?" "I only remember collapsing on the way to Father's birthday banquet." Jussi's small hand rose to touch her ears. "Could it be that Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed through the still emptiness. The little girl slowly turned around. Before her stood a gigantic tiger with pure white fur. Jussi asked, "Are you the White Tiger from my dream?" The moment I faced the white tiger in that empty space, I sensed an atmosphere completely different from my earlier dreams. Looking at the paw the white tiger extended to me, I instinctively reached out as well, and the instant my hand touched its paw, the memories of the white tiger, or rather, of the divine beast Honest, began to flow into my mind. The days spent living together with Honest. The moment the dark divine beast appeared, and even the final instant when life ended after the brutal battle against it. The clearer those memories became, the less I could deny one single truth. I was Honest reborn. I really am Honest reborn. It was unbelievable, but it was the truth. The memories and power pouring into my body left me no room to doubt it. At the same time, a sense of mission gradually began to take shape in my heart. Jussi closed her eyes and let the flood of images pass through her mind. Now I understand. The reason I was reborn after thousands of years. Her voice rang out with resolve. It was to destroy the dark divine beast, the one we embraced as we died together, yet who was reborn along with us. The white tiger's blue eyes were filled with unwavering resolve. That's right. The little girl's expression turned serious. Our mission, Honest's mission, as for the dark divine beast, I believed it would remain asleep forever. At that thought, Jussi clenched her hands. If he was still alive, then somewhere there must still be followers helping him return. The white tiger brought its paw closer. That's right. Fortunately, he too was reborn in the form of a beast man rather than as a divine beast, and reconstructing the body that was destroyed in the last battle will take a great deal of time. The white tiger continued. So before he regains his strength, Jussi, you must first recover all the memories and power from your previous life. A rare gentleness appeared in the white tiger's eyes. If not, your body will not be able to endure that enormous power and will be damaged, just like what happened today. Hearing that, Jussi puffed her cheeks. What? So that's why I was in pain? The white tiger spoke again. Now that the dark divine beast has already awakened, how can you afford to leisurely recover your memories and power? But it's my power, isn't it? Isn't there some way to use it right away? There are no shortcuts, child. It reached out and stroked her head. Now go. There are many people waiting for you. Juicy hurriedly spoke up. Wait, you have to tell me how to recover my power and memories. The white tiger replied at once. That power and those memories have scattered across the continent. So you must train and build a body capable of using that power. After that, all that remains is for you to find them yourself. The little girl looked blankly at it and asked again, That's all? Then what am I supposed to do with them once I find them? It answered softly, In time, you will naturally understand. The white tiger's voice sounded low and firm, as if engraving itself upon her soul. In this life, you must kill him. Juicy lay on the bed and slowly opened her eyes. Where am I? She looked around at her surroundings. It didn't seem to be her room. Rayton's face brightened as he called softly, Juicy. Juicy turned to look at Izadin's swollen eyes and thought, Big brother, how long have you been crying? He bent down, his voice still full of worry. Does your body feel any better? She thought. It looks like father was really frightened too. Juicy moved her arms and legs and answered, I'm fine now. Then she stamped her foot down hard. Look, at that very moment, a blue light flared beneath her feet, making Juicy gasp. What is this? A nearby attendant cried out, Princess, why is your energy surging all of a sudden? Rayton called out in alarm. Juicy. The little girl herself was equally shocked. Could it be because I remember my previous life? Worry spread clearly across Juicy's face. I have to control it quickly, but it won't listen. She called out blankly. Father. He stepped closer and lowered his voice to soothe her. It's all right, Juicy. Rayton pulled the little girl into his arms. Father will help you, so slowly draw your energy back in, all right? Juicy pressed herself into that warm embrace and called softly, Father. He gently reassured her. It only happened because it caught you by surprise, so just take it slowly. Juicy gradually closed her eyes and answered quietly yes. Rayton patted her lightly on the back. That's right. Even if it was your first time, you did very well. An attendant spoke carefully. Your Majesty, Princess, are you all right? Izadin smiled and said, So now you can use energy, right? The attendant replied, Perhaps because her energy was too strong. The princess suffered like that all this time. Juicy looked at her hand, where light was still shining. Her body must have been in pain from having to receive that power. So now she could finally use energy freely. She clenched her hand tightly, an indescribable joy welling up inside her. Great. Now all I need to do is recover all the lost power and memories. Juicy's eyes stopped at the doorway. At that point, I'll be able to destroy the dark divine beast in a single strike. Who was that child? As Rayton felt Juicy slip out his arms, he asked, Juicy, where are you going? An attendant quickly reminded her, Princess, you're still in recovery right now. Juicy ran forward, unable to hide her excitement. Back then, I thought it was just empty words. I've been waiting for you for so long. Did he really come to meet me? Father's birthday banquet, which had been canceled when I fainted, was held again a few days later on an even grander scale. The little girl sat neatly in her chair. I knew I absolutely had to attend Father's birthday banquet, but every time I thought back to what happened that day, I was so embarrassed I didn't want to go anywhere at all. Jacelia wrapped Ezekiel in a tight embrace and kept talking. As expected, you're part of the delegation too. I knew it had to be so. Sparks seemed to flash in Rayton's eyes. He's an emperor, so why are you acting so familiarly with him, Your Majesty? The little girl stared at him without blinking. So you're really an emperor? Is that why you're so strong, even though you're still so young? Ezekiel looked back at her and spoke calmly. It seems the princess was raised with a great deal of love. He studied Juicy and smiled. That must be why you're so comfortable approaching even someone you've just met. Someone I've just met? Rayton stepped forward and scooped the little girl into his arms. So Your Majesty noticed. My princess has a very friendly personality. All right, come here, Juicy. So please forgive her rudeness just now. Juicy wondered blankly, what in the world is going on? She stared at Ezekiel in shock. Could it be that he doesn't recognize me? Now, Ezekiel looked thoroughly puzzled. That expression and tone of voice really made me think he didn't know me. Thinking about it again, he was the child I met in my dream. I had simply believed, without question, that he existed in reality too. Juicy gloomily propped up her chin. Why did I think that? Just then, Izadin walked over and called loudly, Juicy. He hugged the little girl. I came to escort you. We agreed we'd go in together today, remember? Juicy replied without moving. Yes, that's right. As they walked, Izadin asked suspiciously, why does your voice sound so weak? Are you tired? Should we go back? She lightly shook her head. It's Father's birthday banquet. I can't stay gloomy forever. It's okay. I'm Fina. Juicy felt a little embarrassed. Pretending to be close like this is so embarrassing, but what's done is done. She encouraged herself. All right, from here on, I just have to act shamelessly. Inside the hall, everyone began applauding and welcome. A voice rang out from the front. The little guardian of the Penteran Empire and her angel will now enter. Izaton lowered his voice. This is the first time you've seen so many people gathered together, right? Juicy looked around with her mouth slightly open. I've stopped feeling down now. Yes, it feels really new. Rayton raised the gift in his hand and said proudly, "This is the letter personally written by my daughter, Juicy, the princess of the Penteran Empire." Juicy raised a hand to cover her face and thought, "Father, that's so embarrassing." Izaton fed her a bite of cake. Juicy, the servant officiating the banquet, spoke solemnly. Next, in celebration of His Majesty's birthday, Juicy slowly savored the sweet cake as it melted in her mouth. The servant continued the announcement. The delegation of the Ryerberg Empire from the western continent enters. Juicy immediately lifted her head and looked toward the great doors. So they finally come in. Ezekiel spoke in a clear voice. "Happy birthday, Your Majesty." Rayton inclined his head in return. "Thank you for traveling such a long way to come here." A welcoming smile appeared on his face. In Penteran, when honored guests arrive, it is said that flowers like these stars will bloom. Even among beast men who could use energy, most people could only handle one type of energy. Only those from the 4 great beastman bloodlines could use 2 types or more. Adasix lightly raised his hand, transport magic gathering in his palm. Roses blossomed all throughout the banquet hall. He said, "Duke Adasix of the Fire Bear race, you said before that he could control plants, didn't you?" Rayton continued, "And now he's making flowers bloom so freely." What an astonishing ability. Seeing Ezekiel intently watching the scene before him, Rayton thought, this must be the first time that Emperor has seen Beastman energy, so he must find it fascinating. That expression really is exactly like the child from my dream. Realizing her thoughts were drifting much too far, Juicy turned her face away. "It'll be troublesome if I misunderstand things again." Ezekiel placed a hand over his chest and bowed slightly. "Thank you for such a warm welcome." Ezekiel glanced toward the little girl. "I am glad to see Her Highness the Princess well and healthy again." A weary look appeared on Juicy's face as she thought, "No matter how many times I look, I still can't understand why he doesn't recognize me." Ezekiel raised his hand and cast a spell as he said, "This is a gift from the Ryerberg Empire." The servants gasped and whispered among themselves. A gate appeared in midair. "Is that spatial magic?" He presented the gift box forward. "It is only a small token of my regard." Rayton accepted it and said, "Thank you for going to such lengths to prepare this." Inside the box were 2 sparkling crystal spheres. Rayton stared at them in astonishment. Could these be? Yes, they are communication magic spheres. Rayton's voice deepened with gratitude. "To present such a precious gift, you have my sincere thanks." Ezekiel smiled, his hands lightly clasped together. "If you are pleased, then I am glad." Juicy and Izaton stood behind them, quietly watching the scene. Izaton turned and asked worriedly, "Juicy, what's wrong? You suddenly look completely drained." The little girl rose from her seat and answered softly, "I'll go back to my room first." Seeing that, Izaton called after her, "Juicy." Juicy's small figure departed with a sorrowful air. "I'm so tired." Out on the balcony, she let out a long breath. It had taken a lot of effort just to persuade Izaton to return to the banquet. The night breeze blew softly, and Juicy's face was full of gloom. Today was supposed to be a happy day, but every time I see that Emperor, memories of that day come back to me. The image of herself suddenly throwing her arms around Ezekiel flashed vividly through her mind. Her cheeks flushed red with embarrassment. Juicy hurriedly rubbed her face with both hands. Why did that happen? Why? She flung out her hands and thought, I wish I could turn back time. At that very moment, from high above, a cold gaze locked onto Juicy. A crow with gleaming eyes circled in the darkness. "Found you." It descended lower, drawing nearer and nearer. The white tiger princess. Ona stood atop the castle, watching everything below. 1 hour earlier, he looked at what Ezekiel was doing and asked, "Your Majesty, could that thing possibly be?" While casting his magic, the boy replied, "That's right. It seems to be one of the dark divine beast's followers." The crow had been bound by a glowing golden chain cast by Ezekiel. He must have planned to sneak into the imperial palace hidden among the other crows so no one would notice. With everyone busy because of the emperor's birthday celebration, it was just the kind of plan the dark divine beast would come up with. Ezekiel tightened his grip on the crow, seeing the crow suddenly burst into violent flames. Ona immediately warned, "It is reacting to your Majesty's magic." Ezekiel looked at the thrashing crow. With how grotesque it looks, it's definitely a servant of the dark divine beast. What a foul stench. He sealed the crow inside a containment jar and thought to himself, perhaps because this is Beastman territory, it's easier for them to slip inside. If this continues, the white tiger will be in danger. Ezekiel swiftly cast a spell and calculated the possibilities. Perhaps relocating the White Tiger Princess's residence would be safer, but since matters concerning her quarters were highly sensitive, he would have to approach it carefully. He spoke decisively. Tomorrow, we must take this creature as evidence and negotiate with the Penner inside. Ezekiel's gaze turned resolute. There may still be others from that faction nearby. I need to investigate further. He turned his head, and his expression abruptly changed. It's not just one, and that direction is. The White Tiger is in danger. At that very moment, another crow tore through the air and flew straight at Juicy. She quickly dodged and lashed out with her foot, raking hard across the crow's body. From it spread the demonic aura of the Dark Divine Beast. Is that one of the Dark Divine Beast's subordinates? Juicy immediately channeled her power. Since I can use this power myself now, I understand. It's completely different from the time I used it by accident 2 years ago. She could not hide her delight at taking it down. Even if it was only a subordinate with a weak dark aura, I destroyed it in a single blow. That's amazing. But before her joy could settle, another crow came hurtling toward her. At this rate, maybe I really can wipe out the Dark Divine Beast in one go someday. Juicy's eyes widened as she muttered, "There's another one?" By instinct, she raised her hand in front of her face. It was too late to dodge. It was about to hit her. At that moment, the crow was bound in midair by a golden chain. Juicy lowered her arm and stared in shock. This chain, Ezekiel approached, his voice gentler now. "You're not hurt, are you, princess?" She looked at his hand and thought, he really is the boy from my dream. Juicy lifted her head and blurted out, "You do know me after all, don't you? We've already met. There's no way I misunderstood." Ezekiel gave her a soft smile. "Thank goodness. You seem to be all right." At those words, her heart sank. "You." Juicy's tone sharpened. "Don't pretend you don't know me." He smiled until his eyes curved. It seems the princess was quite frightened. Juicy shot him an irritated look. "You're really going to keep denying it?" Suddenly, Ezekiel's smile vanished, and his eyes turned cold for an instant. Then he turned and spoke. "White Tiger, go inside quickly. Stay in your room for the time being, all right?" She froze. "White Tiger." Joy suddenly surged through Juicy's heart. "See, it really is you." She was about to speak again. "Why are you pretending not to know me?" But in the blink of an eye, he had vanished. Juicy stood there, staring into the empty air in thought. "Emperor of Ryerberg, you're definitely the child I knew. So why do you keep pretending not to know me?" A thought surfaced in her mind. Is there some secret I still don't know? Juicy whispered inwardly, "It's been so long since I last saw Honest. You have no idea how much I've been waiting for you." From somewhere else, an unfamiliar voice rang out. "Ryerberg's little mouse has caught my scent." Ezekiel landed on a tree branch. Sensing him drawing near, the other party muttered, "We'll have to meet another time." Ezekiel looked around, but there was nothing there. He stood still, frowning in thought. I clearly sensed his presence, but he left no trace behind when he disappeared. From above, he looked toward the palace. In a spot from which the princess's palace could be clearly observed, the Dark Divine Beast had appeared. Once the White Tiger had awakened her power, the threat would continue. Ezekiel stood in silence for a long while before making up his mind. To protect the White Tiger, it seems there is no choice but to use that method. Below, Ona waved and called out loudly, "Your Majesty, did you use spatial magic again and leave me behind?" Ezekiel landed on the ground and ordered, "We're returning to our room." Ona blinked and pointed at himself. "But I just got here." Ona looked at Ezekiel in bewilderment, then spoke. "Did you catch the one following the aura you sensed near the princess's palace?" Ezekiel replied indifferently. "Before I arrived, the princess had already dealt with it." Ona looked somewhat surprised. "Really? I heard the princess had awakened her power, but that's truly impressive." A hint of pride flashed across Ezekiel's face. "That's right. I'm very proud of her. She's adorable and strong as well." But immediately afterward, Ezekiel unconsciously pressed his lips together. When the White Tiger was in danger, I instinctively used the chain. It seems she realized that I was the person she met in her dream. What should I do? The image of Juicy waiting expectantly rose in his mind. Though he felt a little guilty, since she had waited so long to meet him, he still could not tell her the truth yet. He clenched the hand at his side. "Until I capture the Dark Divine Beast, I absolutely cannot reveal the truth." His eyes hardened with determination. "Next time, no matter what it takes, I will kill it." Rayten sat at the center of the banquet table. At noon the following day, he placed both hands neatly on the table. The Ryerberg Empire. Sitting opposite him was Ezekiel, the Pennerin Empire. The first secret conference between the two empires had begun. Because of the exchange talks between Pennerin and Ryerberg, the imperial palace was now under heavy guard. Juicy sat on the balcony, railing with her chin propped on her hand, lost in thought. After the Great War, this was the first exchange gathering between the two races, so she had heard that all the important figures of each empire were attending. She turned to look at Savies, who was standing behind her. Even my older brother, the Crown Prince, went in as well. It must be an incredibly important meeting. That was likely why even the atmosphere in the princess's palace had become tense. Juicy looked toward the tightly shut door. Everyone is doing their utmost in their own place for the peace of the two empires. She gave a small shake of her head. No, I can't just sit still like this either. Finding her behavior strange, Savies called out, "Princess?" At that moment, Juicy jumped down from the railing, her face bright with excitement. "Let's train, Savies." Caught off guard, Savies answered reflexively, "Why, yes." Then she awkwardly explained, "No matter how much your highness insists, I'm afraid I can't be your sparring partner. What if I accidentally hurt you? Of course I hold back, but..." Juicy smiled as she summoned her power. It seemed Savies still did not truly understand how strong she had become. "Accidentally hurt me?" Without hesitation, she rushed forward. "Instead of worrying about pointless things like that, you'd better stop this attack first. Here I come, Savies." Startled, Savies hurriedly leaned back and cried out, "Princess." In the conference room, Rayten, seated opposite Ezekiel, slowly began. First of all, his expression was solemn. "I sincerely thank your majesty for coming from afar to attend this meeting." Ezekiel answered at once, without the slightest hesitation, "If the dark divine beast begins to stir, no one will be safe. So my coming here was only natural. Please do not stand on ceremony." Satisfied with that answer, Rayten smiled. Just as the Emperor of Ryerberg says, now is the time for the two empires to join forces. He turned and said, "I summarized it in the letter as well, but please take a look at this. Duke Adesix, are you ready?" Holding a hat in his hand, Adesix replied, "Yes, your majesty." He took out the object inside and spoke in a low voice. Within the Pennerin imperial family, there has long been an oracle saying that, in order to stop the dark divine beast, the white tiger must be born. This has remained as a trial passed down through the ages. Ezekiel stared in shock at the branches before him. That is why all previous emperors have prayed for the birth of the white tiger and have devoted themselves to protecting the honest birch tree. After a moment, Ezekiel spoke. "But those charred black pieces, aren't they from the honest birch tree?" Rayten gave a small nod. "Yes, the birch tree, known as the manifestation of Honest, has gradually withered and blackened ever since White Tiger Princess Juicy of the imperial family was born." At the same time, elsewhere, Savies was holding Juicy with both arms. "See, you're no match for me at all." Ona picked up a branch and fell into thought. "You're saying it gradually withered and turned black, as if the dark divine beast were attacking the traces of Honest itself." He turned to Noah and asked, "Then the final target is still the White Tiger Princess?" Noah looked worried. "But the princess?" Noah paused briefly before continuing. "Since she is the child of prophecy, she should be fine, right?" Uran gave a slight nod in response. "She will definitely be fine." At that moment, Ezekiel's voice rang out. "Ona, Noah." A murderous glint flashed in his eyes. "Watch your words." His tone turned fierce. "Have you forgotten that this conference is being held to find a way to deal with the dark divine beast? Then what is with such a careless attitude? It's honestly shameful." Noah and Ona immediately lowered their heads. "We are sorry, your majesty." Witnessing this scene, Rayten inwardly admired him. To govern his subjects so skillfully at such a young age was truly astonishing. "As you said, Juicy is indeed the child spoken of in the prophecy." He raised a hand and continued, "Furthermore, I also suspect that she is the reincarnation of Honest. But at the same time, she is still far too fragile a being to face the dark divine beast alone." Rayten looked directly at Ezekiel. "Therefore, Pennerin wishes to propose a military alliance with Ryerberg in order to confront the dark divine beast." Without any hesitation, Ezekiel gave his answer. "I agree." He turned and called Erna, Holding a stack of documents, Ernest stepped forward. Yes, Your Majesty. If you look at the related records here. Addison then spoke with a smile. I hear that the strongest mage is honored as emperor. Then just how powerful is this young emperor? Children born with an innate abundance of mana are also said to be greatly influenced in terms of intellect. He is even the same age as my grandson. It's truly hard to compare them. In Ezekiel's place, Erna answered calmly, this is an exceptional case. The Duke's grandson is free to behave according to his age, so there is no need for concern. Sitting nearby, Noah added, exceptional? I'd say extraordinary. He continued seriously, and the Emperor is the sky to all those stars. Yes, Erna replied with a smile, exactly. Then Erna's voice rang out again. I will continue with a more detailed explanation when discussing magic, since magic is probably not widely understood in the Penryn Empire. Thank you for your interest. Rising to his feet, he declared in a clear voice, after the ancient war 1,000 years ago, the descendants of humankind migrated to lands untouched by divine influence, and they were born with mana instead of supernatural powers. Erna explained slowly, the amount of mana a person can wield is called magical power, and everything that manipulates mana is collectively called magic. Faint rays of light appeared in Erna's hand. Above all, a mage's talent must be inborn. That is why what an outstanding archmage must possess is innate magical ability, along with the perseverance and effort to refine it. Naturally, the bloodline of a mage family also has influence. He looked toward Noah and Kantek. Among those who fully meet all those conditions, only a handful become stars who serve the Emperor, such as myself, Noah, and Kantek here. Then Erna looked toward Ezekiel, and the Emperor is the sky of those stars. Children recognized as possessing talent, as mages are born with an innate source of mana, and this also greatly affects their intellect. Among those mages, the child born with extraordinary mana was Ezekiel, the current Emperor of Ryerberg, proof of unparalleled potential. He still did not stop. From the moment of his birth, His Majesty possessed such vast mana that every star in the Empire, as well as the former emperors, stood in astonishment. Ezekiel quietly called out, Erna, that's enough. Noah immediately continued, though His Majesty is still young. Not only his magic, but also his intellect and character are outstanding. Ezekiel spoke again. Noah, stop. Isaac's gaze softened as he said, if he's a genius, then I suppose his memory must be remarkable too. Hearing that, Ezekiel nodded. That's right, but it also comes with many troublesome problems. Ezekiel continued, for example, because too many memories accumulate, the brain can become overloaded and lead to memory loss. Isaacson instantly grew alert, his gaze fixed on him. Ezekiel clasped his hands together. However, the relic left behind by the one who guided me in my childhood is protecting me. Therefore, my condition will not affect the exchange between us. Lowering his voice, Rayton asked, unable to hide his curiosity, may I ask who that person was? Ezekiel bowed his head and replied, that person's name was Tatius Elberger. At that name, Erna and Kantek both lowered their heads at once. He was the late former emperor of Ryerberg. Ezekiel's tone grew subdued. He was also my grandfather. In the summer when I was born, they say unprecedented rain poured down near the River of Death. Thick black clouds gathered only over the sky around the River of Death, hanging in place instead of drifting away, causing the river to overflow. My grandfather, certain that this was no ordinary natural disaster, immediately thought of the dark divine beast. Tatius cast his power into the crystal sphere. Could it be? A terrible thought flashed through his mind. Was the dark divine beast, long sealed away, trying to awaken? In place of the aging emperor, the stars, anxious for him, advanced to the River of Death, and after 3 days of battle, they finally managed to confine the dark divine beast, which had been trying to revive, within the crystal. Thus, the resurrection of the dark divine beast was prevented. But in the process, 5 stars fell, including my parents. Tatius pulled the young Ezekiel into his arms. I'm sorry. The boy raised his tiny hand to wipe away tears and called out, Grandfather. He patted Ezekiel's back. Are you trying to comfort me? Tatius hugged him tightly. Though I cannot become your parents, I will become the best grandfather and the best teacher you could ever have, Ezekiel. I promise. Grandfather kept his promise. He became the adult I could rely on, the teacher I could trust. Because of that, I never felt the absence of my parents. Throughout the whole time I was growing up, he used every moment he could to teach me that the dark divine beast might revive at any time, and he also taught me about the white tiger, Honest. Tatius walked down the corridor, holding his hand. "We must join forces with Pennerin and destroy the Dark Divine Beast. And to do that, we will absolutely need White Tiger on us." Ezekiel repeated the words, "White Tiger on us." My peaceful life began to change abruptly around the time I turned 5. Pointing to the crystal sphere on the table, Tatius reminded him, "You must watch it carefully, because that monster keeps trying to crawl out of the crystal." Ezekiel looked at it and quietly answered, "Yes, sir." Because the Dark Divine Beast continuously tried to break the seal, Grandfather had to suppress the crystal with his magic at least once a day. That day, for some reason, I felt that I could do it too, so I reached out and touched it. Tatius hurriedly tried to stop me. "My child, you are still too young and inexperienced to bear this responsibility." Ezekiel looked up at him and softly called, "Grandfather." Then he cast a spell onto the crystal sphere and said, "The black serpent is targeting the white tiger. It wants to devour the power that the white tiger took from it 1,000 years ago." Tatius cried out in shock, "Ezekiel, you?" His face full of astonishment. He asked, "Did you read the thoughts of the Dark Divine Beast?" Ezekiel nodded. "Yes." He stretched a hand toward the crystal. "This time, I absolutely won't let anyone stop me again." Tatius pulled him into an embrace. "All right, that's enough. Stop, Ezekiel." Startled, the boy called out, "Grandfather?" Ezekiel asked innocently, "Was I able to help at all?" That day, when I read the ambition of the Dark Divine Beast, Grandfather wore a sorrowful expression. I am certain he sensed it in that very instant. Kneeling before me, Tatius answered, "I know very well that your innate talent is boundless, that your intellect is exceptional, and that your inner world grows broader with each passing day." He knew that his little grandson was fated to confront the Dark Divine Beast. He reached out and gently stroked Ezekiel's cheek, his voice tender. "But because of that, you haven't had enough time to understand your own feelings. If this continues, one day you'll lose yourself." Tatius said sternly, "So, I'm going to cast a spell on you." Surprised, the boy asked, "What kind of spell?" He answered softly, "It is a magic called love, my child." He smiled faintly, "So that you can always exist as Ezekiel. Always remember that I love you." Ezekiel threw himself into his grandfather's arms and replied, "Yes, grandfather. The grandfather who always loved me. The mages of the Empire who became both my comrades and my teachers, and the natural talent I possessed. In those days, I truly had nothing left to envy or desire. I was destined to smoothly become the sky of the Empire, and I believed those happy days would continue." The stream of memories flooded through his mind. But that happiness was shorter-lived than I had imagined. The day everything turned into tragedy came for Ezekiel. 3 years ago, on an early spring day, the Dark Divine Beast broke the seal and escaped from the crystal. Then, in its shattered state after being struck by Grandfather's magic circle, it fled from Ryerberg. Clutching Tatius's body, he cried out in agony, "Grandfather, Grandfather, please open your eyes." A few months after I succeeded him as emperor, I returned to the room where the Dark Divine Beast had once been sealed. He recalled the memory of that day. It was the place where the Dark Divine Beast escaped, and also the place where I lost my beloved grandfather. Ezekiel held his head in his hands, his eyes full of sorrow. "I truly did not want to come back here again, but I cannot go on living forever in avoidance." Right after that, he turned to leave. Grandfather tried to stop it until the very last moment before he died. So from now on, it is my duty to kill it and protect the Empire. He thought to himself, maybe there are still some clues left behind here. Suddenly, he spotted a pink fragment. That, Ezekiel stared at the shard in his hand in shock. A fragment of the sealing crystal. He thought, I was sure all the ruins had already been cleared away, yet one piece was still left behind. Then an idea flashed through his mind. Since this vessel held the Dark Divine Beast for such a long time, if I make use of it, perhaps I can create a stronger sealing artifact. After bringing that fragment back to my office, I stayed up all night studying it, then drifted off for a short while. When I opened my eyes again, I was standing in a vast field with no end in sight. Ezekiel looked around at the scene and thought, perhaps because I was afraid of this unfamiliar place, perhaps because of the peace nature brought me, or perhaps because of the despair over grandfather's death, since now he no longer even appears in my dreams. Tears fell from the corners of his eyes. Suddenly, I could no longer hold back the tears pouring out. And as I kept crying, not knowing where I was, a small tiger carrying a flower suddenly came over to him. A soft little cry rang out. I recognized it at once. The gentle child comforting me was. Ezekiel looked at the little tiger happily and thought, the reincarnation of the divine beast on us, the white tiger princess I saw in the Dark Divine Beast memories. She looked smaller and frilier than I expected. He could not help but feel puzzled. Why would the white tiger princess appear in my dream? He bent down and asked for me. As he reached out to take the flower, curiosity rose in his heart. "Then where's this place?" He replied gently, "Thank you." The moment Ezekiel took the flower, he froze. This feeling, the dark divine beast. He warily turned his head behind him. I can read the dark divine beast's thoughts. This place is inside the dreams of the white tiger in him. He stepped in front of the little tiger and shouted, "Tiger, it's dangerous." He thought, "It plans to kill the white tiger right here." Ezekiel looked at the vicious, giant serpent before him, a little shaken inside. Such a terrifying aura. Is this really the dark divine beast? He thought to himself, the one that killed the 5 stars and the former emperor. Can I really handle it alone? He launched a spell toward the giant serpent. White tiger. Suddenly, Tatius's instructions surfaced in his mind. "You understand, don't you, Ezekiel? We must join forces with Pennerin to destroy the dark divine beast. And to do that, we absolutely need the white tiger on us." Ezekiel seemed to awaken and thought, "That's right. Pull yourself together, Ezekiel. Don't let weak thoughts control you. I have to protect this child." He spoke up. "You mustn't, white tiger." He thought inwardly, "It's a little vague, but I can still sense that I can use magic here too." In that case, he summoned a chain and said quietly, "You still aren't strong enough to fight that thing." Ezekiel swung the chain forward and shouted, "Run." His heart was utterly resolute. "I will never let anyone be lost to the dark divine beast again." Frowning, he shouted, "I can only hold it off for a little while, so while I do, hurry and run." He thought to himself, "This time, I will definitely protect her." I woke up right after defeating the dark divine beast in that dream. Just like when I read the divine beast's thoughts through the crystal, I realized I could use that fragment to enter the white tiger princess's dream. Ezekiel lowered his gaze and thought, just as I suspected, when fighting the dark divine beast, this fragment will play an important role. Until then, I absolutely must not let the dark divine beast notice it. From that day on, to guard against every possible danger, I hid the fragment in a secret place and, whenever I had time, quietly probed its thoughts. It was planning to enter the white tiger princess's dream and kill her to restore its weakened power. After learning of that plan, I began researching magic to oppose the dark divine beast. When the dark divine beast invaded the white tiger's dream to target her, I followed it in through the crystal fragment and protected the little white tiger together with Honest inside the dream. He and the white tiger did everything they could to hold back the giant serpent. Not even a second of carelessness was allowed. When I bound the dark divine beast in the dream and poured magic into it, the divine beast's thoughts naturally flooded into me as well. Ezekiel summoned a chain and thought. Its ambition is to devour all that terrifying power and rule the world completely. Dark divine beast, I will kill you utterly and crush you into pieces. He withdrew the chain and said coldly, "Therefore, we must break that ambition by any means and every method possible." His eyes were filled with resolve. "That is why I have something I wish to tell your majesty." Rayten immediately gave the order, "I understand. Have the ministers withdraw." Only a few people remained in the room. Ezekiel spoke, "Thank you for arranging this audience. I wish to report to your majesty on the connection between the dark divine beast and Honest's reincarnation." He began explaining what he had discovered. According to the Ryerberg Empire's investigation, only the soul of the dark divine beast was destroyed together with Honest. Its body remained dormant inside the black gem in the River of Death. After a long period of time, it can be inferred that both souls, once destroyed, recovered. He summoned images of the 2 souls to illustrate his point. First, its restored soul re-entered its body. Then, when it sensed Honest had been reincarnated, it immediately regained its strength, broke the seal, and fled the royal palace of Ryerberg. Right after that, Ezekiel took out a jar from subspace. Fortunately, the former emperor inflicted heavy damage on it at that time, so it could not maintain its form. Therefore, for a while, it will be unable to approach the princess. He continued in a grave tone. Instead, it seems to have sent its followers into the imperial palace. Erna carried the jar over to Rayten and reported with a smile, "Yesterday, we captured this one above the skies of the Penterin Imperial Palace. And besides this one, there are others directly targeting the princess." After he finished speaking, Ezekiel continued, "Only humans live in the western part of the continent, so the dark divine beast servants will have difficulty operating there." He proposed sternly, "Therefore, while we root out the followers scattered throughout the eastern part of the continent, I would like to suggest relocating the White Tiger Princess's residence to Ryerberg. Hearing this, Rayton's expression darkened as he thought, I never imagined there were people among my own subjects following the Dark Divine Beast. I did not want to send Juicy away, but if this place is truly dangerous, then I have no choice but to accept it. In a land inhabited only by humans, the Dark Divine Beast surely will not be able to establish believers. He agreed at once. Very well, I accept the Emperor's proposal. Meanwhile, on Juicy's side, the girl was awakened by the noise. Footsteps. Is it morning already? When she saw the pitch-black sky, she felt a surge of irritation. What? It's still night. I need more sleep. Suddenly, she seemed to realize something and her eyes widened in shock. Wait, why can I see the sky? Shouldn't it be the ceiling? I was definitely sleeping in my room. Juicy looked at the person carrying her and asked softly, Sophie? No, not Sophie. Seeing that she was awake, Izaton asked, Juicy, you're awake? When she saw that it was Izaton carrying her, she could not hide her surprise. Big brother, he explained gently, we're on our way to a safe place right now. I'm sorry, but because of the sealing relic, your body will be hard to move. Hearing that, Juicy asked in shock, a sealing relic? Why are you doing that to me? Say something. Could it be? Suddenly, Izaton's face hardened. He thought, the Dark Divine Beast followers are attacking again? Beside him came the girl's question, where is Father? Looking ahead, he frowned and answered, Father won't be coming with us. His voice was full of resentment. Father is just the same as those people from Ryerberg. Juicy was startled. Ryerberg? Izaton was furious. How could he talk so easily about sending his own daughter to Ryerberg? Hearing his words, the girl was extremely puzzled inside. What was he talking about? Explain it so I can understand, brother. The moment she looked down, panic filled her heart. Wait, you're really going to jump down from here? Calm down, brother. Suddenly, Juicy looked behind her in shock. She and Izaton had both sensed it. The aura of the Dark Divine Beast was very close by. He turned and slashed hard through the air. In the very next second, he was knocked backward by that person, bracing his sword against the ground. Izaton demanded through clenched teeth. Who are you? Doas appeared and smiled. Little darling. Looking at Juicy, she said cheerfully, it's been a long time. I missed you so much. I was so curious how much you'd grown, so I asked my master for permission to come here. She smiled teasingly, and my little darling is still so adorable even in such a tiny form. Observing the woman before him, Izaton thought in alarm, this strange aura. Juicy frowned inwardly. It's the same thing I sensed from that follower in the conference room. He asked coldly, are you a follower of the Dark Divine Beast? Doas gave a small exclamation as she looked at him. This should have been a reunion moment between me and my darling, and yet there's an uninvited guest. The girl thought, I've clearly never seen this face before, so why does it feel familiar? And she seems to know me too. Izaton pointed his sword at her and demanded, do you even know what place this is to dare set foot here? He thought to himself, why can't she remember me? She summoned her power and let out a cold snort. Master said I have to wait until the white tiger grows a little more before taking her out to play. Doas smirked lightly. So before that, I'll deal with the uninvited guest first. Juicy's face darkened. Spider threads. Suddenly, the girl remembered where she had seen Doas before. I remember now. 1,000 years ago, when the Dark Divine Beast descended upon the world, the one who was blessed by it and led the slaughter of countless beast folk and humans was none other than the Black Widow, Doas Hill. Looking at Izaton as he fought, she could not help but wonder. I clearly sealed her together with the Dark Divine Beast, so could it be that she has revived along with it too? Juicy let out a sigh of relief inwardly. At least this time, Doas Hill appeared alone. Doas warned, don't you dare hurt my darling. The girl was filled with worry. Right now, Izaton can't handle that spider. Even I still haven't fully regained control over my powers. She immediately warned Izaton, don't fall for her provocation. We have to run right now, brother. Turning around, he replied, all right. He turned and ran, thinking, what a shame, but she is not someone I can face alone. Retreating now is the right choice. Seeing him run, Doas laughed in delight. So you're running away? Seems the golden tiger isn't anything special after all. Izaton apologized in a low voice. Sorry, Juicy. Because of me, you had to go through something awful. Juicy thought, save that for after we get somewhere safe. She looked around at the surroundings and thought, at this distance, we should be safe for the moment. She recalled Doas's face. Doas's attacks themselves are not that strong, but what makes her truly dangerous is that she can use poison stingers to paralyze the whole body. When Juicy saw the poison stingers surrounding his body, she panicked. No too late, she called anxiously, brother, In the next moment, Izatan was poisoned and collapsed. Looking at her own hand, now able to move, the girl was startled. The sealing relic has been undone. Doa stepped forward and mocked. How dull. Is it over already? Seeing the woman's footsteps drawing near, the girl thought, this is bad. Juicy's face hardened as she thought, I have to protect my brother. Doa's laughed mockingly. To have the one you were supposed to protect turn around and protect you instead. How pathetic. The girl shouted angrily, go away. Get out of here. She thought, I used too much energy training during the day, so now I can't bring out my power anymore. Doa's reached out toward the girl. Then now I'll finish off the life of this nuisance. Just as her hand was about to touch Juicy, a voice rang out, stop. Seeing someone arrive, Doa's clicked her tongue softly. Looking at them approaching, Juicy felt overjoyed inside. Perfect timing. The girl turned her eyes to the two who had just arrived, her father and the Emperor of Ryerberg. Rayten summoned a great flame and ordered, take your hand off my daughter at once, unless you wish to be crushed to dust and erased from this world. Looking at him, she thought, now I can relax. If it's father, he can definitely take down that spider. Seeing that Doa's intended to flee, Juicy thought, she's trying to escape? Stop right there. Doa's turned around and waved at them. It can't be helped, can it, little darling? Until next time, when we meet again, I'll come together with our master. Juicy shouted loudly. Stop right there. Staring at Doa's retreating figure, the girl was astonished. She vanished. Rayten reached out and picked the girl up. Juicy, I'm sorry I came late. Stroking her, he asked worriedly, you're not hurt anywhere, are you? The girl immediately replied, no. As Ezekiel treated Izatan, he spoke up. The crown prince is not in any danger of losing his life either. He continued, it appears the dark divine beast's loyal follower has fled. She did not leave behind even a single trace. Rayten lowered his gaze to the girl and said coldly, how bold, charging straight into the princess's palace without the slightest fear. Looking at him, Ezekiel proposed, this matter is urgent. It would be best to relocate the princess's residence as soon as possible. Hearing Ezekiel's words, he clenched his teeth softly. The little girl looked at Rayten's expression and softly called out, Father. He gave the order in a cold voice. Once everything is ready, we leave immediately. Beneath the silver moon in the night sky, the dangerous encounter with Doa's Hill had come to a temporary end. As for Izadan's runaway incident, he would be punished after recovering for recklessly putting himself in danger. Meanwhile, in the imperial palace, Father had to face the presence of those aligned with the opposing faction. By the window sat Juicy's quiet figure, and that made securing the princess's safety more urgent than ever. The entire palace was now steeped in vigilance, and every step had to be taken with caution. In another room, Rayten held Juicy's small white tiger form in his arms and said gently, get a little sleep. The dazed girl let out a faint, Father. In the end, Father had decided to send her to the Ryerberg Empire. Rayten was deeply distressed as well, but there was no other choice. I'm sorry, Yushi. In a hoarse voice, he comforted his daughter. I'll come bring you back very soon. To avoid interference from hostile followers who might appear, Juicy and the servants decided to leave the Penteran Empire somewhat hastily. The next morning, their group had everything neatly prepared on the very day the Ryerberg delegation was scheduled to return. 3 attendants had passed severe trials and inspections and were chosen to accompany the princess on this journey. None other than Sophie, Yuni, and Sabiet. In truth, this trip was no different from going into hiding, but since it was an internal matter of the royal family, to the public, and to everyone except a few officials, it was merely presented as a study trip abroad. Juicy looked around wide-eyed. Officially, it was meant to promote harmony between the empires, but it was hard to believe that such a young princess had to go study abroad. I heard this trip is also meant to test the combination of beastman abilities and mage magic, right? She thought to herself. They said its purpose was to harmonize and combine the supernatural powers and magic of the 2 empires. Not far away, the young dragon noblewoman remarked to the man beside her. Though she's still little, she wants to fulfill her duty as a princess. How admirable. But Juicy paid the comment no mind at all. She was worried. If the truth that the dark divine beast was reviving and its followers were secretly active inside the empire were revealed, it would surely cause enormous chaos. Juicy puffed out her cheeks and sighed. But leaving the very next day after running away from home? That's way too fast. I'm so nervous. Bored, the girl let her eyes wander blankly. She was probably regretting that she had to leave in such a hurry without getting to see Izadin. I hope he wasn't badly hurt. Then a few fluttering leaves blew right in front of her chest. Juicy widened her eyes in surprise. Leaves? She wondered in confusion. Why is the wind suddenly this strong? Then the words at Juicy's lips seemed to catch in her throat. A huge shadow fell over the place where they were waiting. She stared up in astonishment and admiration. This must be the magic airship I'll be riding. Normally it's covered in invisibility magic, so it's hard to see. How amazing. Juicy's mood brightened at once. Cheerfully, she wanted to chirp out, "Look at that, Father! It's incredible!" But her gaze suddenly froze. Rayton's face held only a strained smile. Gently, he said, "Yes, Juicy. You must stay strong in Ryerburg, too." She went slightly blank. Father's expression. Juicy's eyes grew moist, and she answered in a soft, coaxing little voice. Inwardly, she reproached herself a little. The appearance of the magic airship meant departure was close at hand, and yet she had only stood there staring foolishly, unable to understand how Father felt. Rayton spoke calmly as he lightly tapped her tiny nose. Then he lifted his daughter closer, rubbing against her soft cheek, and poured all his heart into his words. "Come back strong enough that no one will ever dare threaten you. You must return as the most powerful princess of all, understand." Juicy could not help but be moved. Father, he continued to care for her in that steady voice. "During that time, your brother and I will make this empire truly safe, so you can live there without worry." Juicy burrowed deeper into Rayton's embrace. Only now did she truly feel what it meant to leave for a place where her family was not. She choked up. Even though the memories of her previous life had returned, the ache of parting was still unavoidable. After she boarded the ship, Rayton, unable to hold himself back, called out his daughter's name loudly. "Juicy, Father loves you, my daughter. Travel safely. I'll contact you every day through the communication orb." Juicy also waved back with all her strength, her little paws flailing. "Yes, Father, I won't make you worry. I'll go safely." The shadow of the airship slowly rose higher. Izadin could only watch from afar. In her heart, Juicy murmured, "Father and brother. I won't be able to see them for a while. That's such a shame," but the sail spread wide, so very wide, for the duty of a princess, and this time, to completely destroy the dark divine beast. Her resolve only grew firmer. "I will definitely become stronger in return." Standing right beside her, Uni looked down below and said brightly, "The Imperial Palace already looks as small as a little dot." Juicy chuckled and enjoyed the wind against her face. "This airship is amazing." Suddenly, someone called to her, "Princess." Juicy reflexively turned. That voice was. Ezekiel smiled politely and reminded her, "Soon, the hull of the airship will be covered in invisibility magic." Juicy blinked in surprise. It was the Emperor of Ryerburg. She had not seen even a trace of him during all the preparations. In a gentle voice, he suggested, "If this is your first time experiencing large-scale magic, you may feel dizzy, so you should go inside the ship." Juicy's fluffy little face fell a bit as she grumbled inwardly. "Like it or not, I'm gonna have to live with this guy for a while." A little later, Juicy sat on a large windowsill and wondered, "I wonder if things will be all right in the Ryerburg Empire." She was already inside a room on the airship. Recalling that brief encounter, she fell into thought. Even if we only knew each other in dreams, if I'm welcomed warmly, maybe life there won't be so bad. But he only said a few words and hurried off, and ever since then I haven't seen a single hair of his. Juicy sat basking in the sun and let out a weary sigh. How long will it take to destroy the dark divine beast and its followers? Will I be able to go home within a year? The image of Doa's smiling brightly and calling Sweetie surfaced in her mind. Juicy's thoughts grew heavy. That person already had unusual abilities, and on top of that could use both paralysis and an extremely potent poison. Yet she still sent that spider. Which means, Juicy looked seriously at her own hand and calmly concluded, he probably still hasn't used his full power yet. A chill ran down her spine. Just as I still can't use all of Honest's power, maybe he also hasn't fully mastered the power from his previous life. Her brows drew together slightly. No matter what, now, while he still hasn't acted directly, this is the opportunity. Before the dark divine beast fully regains its power and begins to move, I need to train until I can use my abilities freely and only then return home. Behind her, seeing the little girl's pale and icy expression, Saviet whispered to Uni in confusion, "It looks like the princess is unhappy about being separated from her family, doesn't it?" Uni agreed at once. It was probably just too sudden a decision. The two of them suddenly grinned and exchanged an understanding look. Both Saviet and Uni approached with bright smiles and sweetly called out, "Princess." Juicy jumped and whipped around. "You scare me half to death." Saviet merely smiled and said, "I just heard that we're free to move around now." Yuni also joined in with a suggestion. Then, while we're flying to Ryerberg, shall we try exploring the magic airship a little? Hearing that, Juicy scratched her head and muttered listlessly, "Explore? I'm not really in the mood." The two of them immediately stared in surprise. "You don't want to go out, princess?" Then Juicy suddenly thought, wait, are they worried about me? She turned back to look at Saviet and Yuni. If that's the case, Juicy changed her mind. "I've decided differently. I want to go." The two of them instantly jumped for joy. "We did it." Juicy, meanwhile, was thinking in a different direction. Maybe while exploring the airship, I'll happen to run into him. There are so many things I want to ask. Her steps turned light and lively. So this makes the 4th day since I left the Penryn Empire. In the hallway, a young mage greeted Juicy with a radiant smile. "Hello, princess. Are you playing hide and seek?" The little girl beamed back cheerfully. Juicy played around on tabletops with the mages. Although this study trip was really a departure forced by safety concerns involving the Dark Divine Beast and herself, from the very first day, those complicated feelings had almost been forgotten. Then she wandered leisurely to another area, and I'm enjoying a freedom I've never experienced in my life. A doting chef fed her treats. "Hello, princess." Juicy sincerely marveled. Studying abroad is wonderful. Saviet's frantic voice rang out clearly. "Princess, where are you?" Juicy gave a rueful smile and crouched at the foot of a door. "It's Saviet." Saviet rubbed the back of her neck helplessly and said to Yuni, "Where did she go?" Hands on her hips. Yuni refused to give up. What are we going to do if we lose the princess? Once the two of them had gone farther away, Juicy quickly slipped into a room. If there was one regret, it was this. Whether he was intentionally avoiding her or not, several days had passed, and she still hadn't seen even his shadow. And just as she thought of that, the familiar figure of Ezekiel appeared right in front of her. At first, Juicy was a little startled. Then her face lit up with the look of someone whose scheme had worked. "Finally, I found you," she called out brightly. "Hey." Juicy looked at his startled, flushed expression in confusion. "Why are you so surprised? Embarrassed?" Ezekiel raised the book to cover half his face and quietly said, "Good morning, princess." Juicy remained frozen there, thinking, why try to find him? I can't, but then we run into each other by chance. So he really has been good at avoiding me all this time. Acting quickly, Juicy became like a tiny cannonball and charged straight at Ezekiel. This time, you're not getting away. She leaped onto his lap and pressed him, insisting, "It was you, right? You were the one appearing in my dreams, weren't you? Until you tell me the truth, I'm not letting go. Answer me." Ezekiel did not answer her question right away. He closed the book, set it aside, and asked softly, "Have you gotten used to living on the flying ship yet?" Juicy pouted as she thought. Why is he changing the subject? Ezekiel went on with a smile. "I've been rather busy with work this whole time, so I haven't had the chance to properly greet you, Your Highness." There was a faintly absent tone in his voice. Or perhaps, "Did you want to play with me?" Juicy stared at him blankly in her little tiger form. "Don't tell me." She grabbed her head and wanted to cry in helplessness. So even now, he still doesn't understand what I'm saying? Ezekiel's smile remained innocent as he spoke to Juicy. "Is this a new game, Your Highness?" Juicy felt so miserable she wanted to scream. "So all this time, I'm the only one who's been getting a headache over this." Ezekiel fell silent and looked straight at Juicy, musing inwardly. "I heard that pawing like this is a sign of affection." Judging by her expression, though, it seems she has something else she wants to say. Ezekiel suddenly laughed. "Since the White Tiger will be returning with me to Ryerberg, perhaps it's time to tell her the truth." Tilting his head, he asked, "Is there something you're trying to say?" Juicy's 2 ears drooped, and she sagged with disappointment. This is hopeless. He doesn't understand anything at all. Then Juicy suddenly remembered the actions of the mages on the airship. Do they think I'm hungry? Or that I want to learn magic? Come to think of it, the other mages didn't seem to understand what I was saying either. I thought this was just how humans communicated. Holding her head in resentment, she lamented, "I can't believe there'd be a twist like this." Ezekiel looked at Juicy in puzzlement. "Isn't that the case?" Juicy grew irritated. Am I seriously supposed to spend my whole study abroad period trapped in this frustration? That difference only made Juicy miss her father and older brother even more. My family really is the best. Their smiling faces shone brightly in her mind. "Whatever you want, just say it. I'll take care of everything for you." Juicy wrapped her ears around herself. "I've only been away from home a tiny bit, and I already miss father and my brother." Ezekiel quickly realized it too. Not being able to communicate really is frustrating, isn't it? Juicy spun around at once. Exactly. It's infuriating. She let out a cry. all the pent-up grievance in her heart boiling over. The person who's most frustrated here is me. I still have so many things I want to ask you, but now I can't do anything at all. I'm so mad. What am I supposed to do to talk to you? Ezekiel panicked. Wait, princess. Then a soft voice rang right beside his ear. Enough with the whole princess thing already. In her white-haired girl form, Juicy pinned Ezekiel beneath her and angrily demanded, if we can't communicate, why do you keep calling me that? A moment later, she went blank. My voice. Then her gaze dropped to his shoulder. Juicy blurted out, wait, these are arms. Even Ezekiel was stunned. Reflected in his eyes was Juicy's figure. It can't be. Looking at him awkwardly, the girl slowly and anxiously asked, hey, do I look human right now? Ezekiel answered honestly, you do look human. Juicy twisted with joy. Then we can talk to each other after all. But before she could celebrate further, after finishing just one more sentence, Juicy's whole body returned to her tiger cub form. So I can talk as long as I'm human. Juicy dropped in alarm and cried out, what is this? I'm going to fall. Ezekiel caught her and burst out laughing. So we finally found a way to talk, haven't we? Juicy felt so regretful she wanted to bite someone. Why did I turn back into a white tiger so fast? No, I still have a mountain of things to say to you. And just like that, my first transformation into a human ended in the blink of an eye. It turned out that ordinary beastmen, as they grow up, gradually learn to control their power and can naturally take human form. At a small discussion meeting, Juicy lay in the middle like a salted fish, completely drained. But I'm different. I still can't fully control Honest's enormous power. So my first human transformation was slow, and I couldn't maintain it for long. Ezekiel explained maturely to everyone. Once she truly becomes accustomed to her ability, the time she can maintain human form will become longer. In Ryerberg, I will help her through that training process. Juicy interpreted it in her own way. In other words, I'll be doing physical training and ability training in Ryerberg. And in passing, to solve the problem of her frustration of being unable to communicate, they also decided to make a magical tool exclusively for her. Juicy looked on expectantly. Whether in dreams or in reality, he's always caring for me and standing on my side. So why does he keep pretending not to know me? I absolutely have to ask him clearly. Night quickly fell across the sky. Ezekiel's warm voice rang out. It's done. Now you can talk comfortably. Juicy took a deep breath, then happily spoke. Hello, Your Majesty. He smiled brightly in reply. Yes, Princess. Just call me Ezekiel. And don't be too formal. Juicy answered generously. Then Ezekiel, you can speak comfortably too. Beside that, Juicy sweetly and sincerely expressed her gratitude. Thank you for making this translation tool for me. Now I can talk with people. I'm so happy. Ezekiel seemed slightly surprised. With people? With a faint smile, he explained, only the person wearing this bracelet can hear the princess's voice, and right now, there is only one. Ezekiel pointed to his own wrist. This one. Juicy gasped in shock. What? So other than Ezekiel, I can't talk to anyone. He suddenly asked her, do you remember the Archmage Noah Caesarea? Juicy answered vaguely, not particularly invested. The Archmage who attended my father's birthday celebration, right? What? Ezekiel reaffirmed it once more. That's right. Noah is the finest relic craftsman in Ryerberg, and even he only barely managed to make this one translation relic. I still remember him crying his eyes out as he offered it up, saying, Your Majesty, after 84,960 failures, I have finally completed it. The Beastman language is truly far too complicated and terrifying. Ezekiel smiled confidently and showed it off. If I continue my research, I'll definitely be able to make many more bracelets. He spoke frankly, but for now, could you speak only with me first? Juicy awkwardly avoided his gaze as she replied, It's not that I'm dissatisfied or anything. Please pass along my thanks to that mage as well. And just like that, their conversation hit a dead end. One girl and one tiger fell silent, and Juicy thought to herself, the atmosphere has gotten really awkward. The little girl secretly glanced at Ezekiel. Even though she did not want to ask in a situation like this, if she did not say it now, she might never get the chance again. So Juicy lightly tapped him and called out, Hey, Ezekiel. The little girl lifted her head and looked straight at Ezekiel. The way you protected me in the Imperial Palace, and the way you've always treated me kindly on the airship too, Juicy asked sincerely. Wasn't it because we had already met in a dream? Ezekiel fell silent for a moment and did not answer. Juicy continued in a gentle tone. I don't know why you pretended not to know me, but can you tell me the truth? Ezekiel's heart stirred violently. It seemed she had already been certain for a while. There was no way he could keep pretending now. He gave a resigned, easy smile and admitted it. Yeah, I'm the one from that dream. After admitting that he was the child from the dream, Ezekiel told her everything, from losing his family to the dark divine beast to the reason he had entered her dream. Facing the little girl, he spoke with earnest resolve. But we have to keep secret the fact that we met in a dream. If the dark divine beast discovers that our dreams are connected, he may act in ways no one can predict. Then he suddenly paused in uncertainty, lowered himself slightly, and asked Jussi with concern, "Princess, are you all right? You don't look very well. Did I say something too harsh?" The little girl looked gloomy and troubled. Jussi softly protested, "No, that's not it. Because I couldn't completely destroy him, you ended up losing someone important." Ezekiel looked at the little girl in confusion as she threw herself into his arms in white tiger form. Jussi's heart was heavy with thought. Maybe this is my fault for letting Ezekiel shoulder so much when he was just a child. Her voice rang out, resolute and unwavering. "Ezekiel, no matter whether you're a genius archmage or an emperor," Jussi made him a firm promise. "You don't have to carry everything alone." She lifted her eyes to him and spoke from the bottom of her heart. "I'll quickly grow stronger and completely destroy the dark divine beast." Jussi's words made the image of Lord Tantitus appear once more in Ezekiel's memory. He had once told him, "You will always be my Ezekiel. Remember that your grandfather will always love you." Emotion welled in Ezekiel's eyes. Reassured, he answered softly, "Thank you." As his hand stroked the white tiger's fur smooth, Ezekiel felt a deep ache in his heart. "Grandfather, I will definitely protect her." The airship drifted far through the sky, and his resolve only hardened. "Until she grows up, I won't let anyone lay a hand on her." Scene change. Meanwhile, in the Pentarine Empire, the warm light of sunset stretched long across the land. A harsh voice, full of killing intent, rang out. "Still don't understand? From now on, this world will belong to him." Isatin's face darkened as he drew his sword and looked down at the pitiful cultists sprawled on the ground. Yet the man showed no fear of death and madly continued preaching. "Bring Honest here. Bring Honest before him. For the eternity of the Supreme One." A wet spraying sound burst upward, staining everything red, and the final voice at last went still. Isatin sank into heavy thought. Father was right. He coldly wiped the hot, filthy blood from his face. Right now, Pentarine is not a safe place for Jussi. Talon, who had stepped up beside him, also spoke heavily. Ever since she left the capital, the ones following them have stopped hiding as well. Isatin made a swift, blunt decision. "There's no time to hesitate here. Move to the next location." He looked toward the setting sun, his resolve growing even fiercer. "We have to wipe them out as soon as possible and bring Jussi back." From afar, as someone watched Isatin's group, a weary voice sighed. "What a stubborn tiger cub." Doas held her cheek and sulked endlessly, lowering her binoculars in irritation. "I really don't get it. How is he not even a little like our darling?" Then she suddenly flipped moods and laughed in delight. "Our darling is cute, lovable, and pleasing to the eye too." The man standing beside her with a scar at the corner of his mouth reminded her flatly to rein herself in. "Don't go," eyeing Doa's hill. His tone was icy, his gaze even sharper. "That white tiger belongs to my master." This man, too, was a follower of the dark divine beast. Lake and Doas swallowed her grievance and endured it. "I know, Lake." Suddenly, a writhing black mass began to rise up behind the two of them. The woman noticed it and cried out brightly, "Master, have you finished your meal?" A hoarse, lazy voice replied, Legs gradually took shape from that squirming black mass, and the man's voice spoke leisurely. "My body is almost fully recovered now." He appeared with silver hair, pale and faint like moonlight. Casually sweeping back the hair at his temple, he narrowed his smiling eyes and said, "At last, it's time to act." Scene changed to the southern district of the Pentarine Empire. "Kalo, everyone is checking this area." Doas spoke in admiration. "Ever since you switched to feeding on young beast men, Master, you seem to be recovering much faster. Shall I keep preparing your meals this way?" Zeta continued, "Fine, but if I use only one kind all the time, it'll be too easy to leave traces, so prepare a proper mix." She obeyed at once. "Yes, sir." Meanwhile, the black serpent thought to himself, "Even though my body has recovered this much, I still can't use the divine beast's power." His gaze turned sharp with suspicion. It must surely be because of those trivial things. The black serpent clenched his hand tight. "Thanks to them, Reconstructing this body will take even more time, but it doesn't matter. He steeled his resolve. Once I regain the power I lost, the whole world will fit in the palm of my hand. The black serpent's face was full of amusement. So for now, I'll spare you, honest, he decided. The next time I meet you again will also be the moment this world begins to perish. After that, they left. Head north. It's time for me to build my nest. It had been 2 weeks since I left Penryn. At last, we had arrived in Ryerberg. Thanks to Ezekiel's translator, the biggest problem, communication, had been solved, and because of that, I had also become closer to everyone. Standing before the door, Ezekiel reminded me, once we pass through this door, we'll arrive in Ryerberg. Are you ready? Because of that, what had once been a study abroad life full of nothing but worries was now something I looked forward to with excitement. Jussi smiled brightly and nodded. Her little feet moved forward step by step. So this place is... Before Jussi stood a magnificent palace, the capital of the Ryerberg Empire. Her eyes shone brightly as she looked up. Look at those towering buildings. The scenery is completely different from the architecture in Penryn. Ezekiel asked curiously, well, Ryerberg is amazing, isn't it? The little girl thought to herself, I'm representing the Penryn Empire, so I have to act composed. They chatted lively. It's normal enough. Ryerberg's nice, but it's not that different from Penryn. Later, I'll take you around properly. Suddenly, a voice greeted them. Your Majesty, you must have had a difficult journey. Ezekiel answered in surprise. It's been a long time, Lord Zeta. Jussi looked up toward the voice. If it's Zeta, she realized, then he must be the regent of Ryerberg, a vassal of the former emperor, and surely a man with a very strict personality. Jussi had assumed he would be a middle-aged man in his late 50s. Startled, she asked, Ezekiel, after people become adults, does their outward aging slow down? But that can't be it, right? The other mages aren't like that. Quick bit of knowledge. Once beastmen reach a certain age, their outward aging slows down. In front of others, Ezekiel used formal speech as he picked her up and explained, Princess, you must be very surprised, but Lord Zeta is indeed over 50 years old. When he was young, during alchemical experiments, he became someone who does not age. Jussi was astonished. Magic could do something like that too? Zeta straightened himself and asked, I heard the Princess of Penryn would be arriving together with your Majesty. He waved as he spoke. So while she's staying here, we have prepared everything so that she may live as comfortably as possible. Jussi was bewildered. Is he greeting me? Zeta cheerfully rubbed her head. But the princess is still inside the airship, isn't she? My, how adorable. He judged, perhaps because she's still little, the little one is afraid of crowds. Jussi's expression darkened instantly. He thinks I'm just an ordinary tiger. Zeta kept teasing her. She must be anxious after having to leave her family so young. Jussi flared up. I'm not letting you get away with this. Ezekiel hurriedly tried to stop her. White tiger. Suddenly, a loud scolding voice made Jussi jump. How rude. At that moment, Zeta was already holding the little girl in his arms, still having no idea what was happening. Sophie shouted furiously. To mistake the one and only princess of the Penryn Empire for a mere animal? It seems, Your Excellency, the regent knows far too little about beastmen. Jussi quickly called out, Aunt Sophie. But Sophie did not stop reproaching him. And you claim to be prepared for trade relations with the Penryn Empire? Zeta protested in confusion. I didn't mistake the princess for an animal. Then he suddenly realized something was wrong. Wait, Ezekiel nudged him and confirmed. That's right. The one you're holding is the princess. Zeta cried out in shock. The princess? Jussi replied lightly. Who else? Inside, she grumbled. If Aunt Sophie hadn't stepped in, I would have taught you a proper lesson myself. The next second, Zeta bowed his head respectfully and apologized. Princess and people of Penryn, I sincerely apologize. Because of my ignorance, I behaved discourteously toward Her Highness. Whatever punishment you command, I am prepared to accept it. Please, only give the order. Hearing that, Jussi's cheeks turned red. Well, I really was angry just now, but seeing such a sincere apology, the little girl spoke gently. I accept your apology. The two empires have only just begun interacting again after so long. From now on, let's learn about each other and come to understand one another better. Ezekiel reminded him, Lord Regent, please rise. The princess has accepted your apology. Jussi smiled brightly as she stepped forward. As the princess of the Penryn Empire, I hope we can work together well. Zeta replied gratefully, Princess, thank you. Sophie kept grumbling. Our princess is far too kind. Jussi hurriedly stopped her. That's enough. And just like that, news of us quickly spread throughout the entire Ryerberg Empire. There were plenty of curious stares, along with whispers and introductions. Those buildings are so tall. Look, I think that's a beast man from the Pennerin Empire. Thanks to the development of magical engineering, the buildings in Ryerberg were constructed incredibly high. They even used magic stones to install automatic elevators. Many people were still wary. This is my first time seeing one in person, Kantek explained, and this is the amusement area the princess will use for recreation. The magical engineers invited by the regent personally designed this place. People still looked a little uneasy. It's not dangerous, right? Most of them remained on guard, as if they were still not used to beastmen from the Penterin Empire. Jussi did not find it strange. That makes sense. It's been 1,000 years since exchanges resumed. After all, she still enjoyed herself. Since in Pennerin, I was already used to receiving too much attention. This kind of indifference feels rather new and not bad at all. Jussi secretly rejoiced. It's actually better that they don't come close to me. From behind them, someone was watching. That white tiger. The boy complained resentfully. Because of that brat, my uncle can't even get a day off from work. Time rewound to a few days earlier. A sigh of complaint rang out. Cloud, I guess it'll still be hard to see your uncle today. She explained the reason. It seems he's busy receiving guests from the Pennerin Empire. Bring the clothes with your mother today. All right, yes. At that moment, Cloud ground his teeth in irritation. Uncle has had to work overtime every day because of her. The boy's anger only grew stronger. And now, they even made Uncle kneel in front of everyone. Because of her, I will absolutely never forgive that. That boy was Cloud Connell, the third son of the distinguished Connell family. He made a vow to himself. I'm definitely going to teach her a lesson she'll never forget. This place was Stella Palace, where Ezekiel had arranged for me to stay after arriving in Ryerberg. It was filled with magical relics, so I never got bored. Jussi lifted her blue tiger eyes and looked around curiously. Her short paw lifted into the air and accidentally touched a magic circle. By the time she realized it, all she could do was cry out, "Oh no, I only meant to go closer for a better look." A startled scream followed, and her small furry body was flung backward. Her soft body hit the tiled floor hard. Jussi could only complain inwardly. This stupid access pass means I can't go anywhere. A few days earlier, she had been excited to learn this translation relic even has an access pass built into it, so that means I can go anywhere I want. Ezekiel had pointed to the door and said, "Not exactly. Depending on the rank of the access pass, the areas you're permitted to enter are different. If someone without permission tries to force their way in, it immediately activates a first-tier defensive barrier to create a shield and sound an alarm. So be careful. As for that shield just now, I only temporarily adjusted the settings." Hearing that, Jussi answered blankly, "I understand." Inside, though, she was in tears because at the time, I had no idea that the magic stone embedded in my magical device was actually the lowest rank. After confirming that Jussi could not go outside, Sophie allowed her to move around the palace grounds alone. The little girl trudged down the corridor in dejection, unable to stop herself from feeling envious. Sophie and Uni, even Xavier too, were all green tier passes. At least it was some comfort that there was still a chance to upgrade the rank of her access pass. Training once a week. Jussi could not help recalling what he had said. "Once I confirm that you can use your power freely, I'll upgrade the rank of your access pass." The little girl's steps suddenly stopped. Her sparkling eyes filled with determination. "The first training session is tomorrow. I'm definitely going to win." Just then, a voice called out, "Hey, you there." Jussi lifted her gaze, full of confusion. "What is this?" Out loud. She only let out a small questioning sound, as if to ask, "Who?" The boy blocking her path loudly introduced himself. "I am Cloud Connell, the youngest son of Count Connell's house, and also the nephew of Duke Zeta, the greatest archmage in the Empire." The little girl gave a puzzled sound, inwardly full of doubt. Why would someone like him be looking for me? Before Jussi had to wait long, she heard him shout, "You cowardly, drenched cat. How could some beast that looks like you possibly be a princess?" Jussi replied as if stating the obvious, "But I really am the princess." Cloud put his hands on his hips, pointed at her, and declared sternly, "Because you stained my uncle's honor, I formally challenge you to a duel." The tiger froze and asked herself in bewilderment, "Honor? Stained it? When did I ever do that?" While the boy in front of her was still aggressively provoking her, insisting they go to the training grounds right away, Jussi coldly ignored him and walked past, grumbling to herself in irritation, "I don't have time to play with some kid." Seeing that figure glide lightly past him, Cloud stammered in shock, "Why, you just looked down on me, didn't you?" "Stop right there, you nasty cat." The little girl leisurely lifted her tiger paws and kept walking, not even bothering to open her eyes, her mind already elsewhere. This time, Ezekiel would personally test her himself, so it definitely would not be easy. Because of that, she had to prepare thoroughly. That indifferent attitude made the boy furious. Magic gathered in his hand as he shouted, "Don't look down on me." As soon as the shout rang out, a current of electricity wrapped around Juicy's legs, making her body unable to move. Looking at the magical cord binding her legs, the little girl cried out in alarm, "Let me go. I said let me go." Then Juicy suddenly froze. Wait, he's a mage? Seeing that scrutinizing gaze turned toward him, Cloud finally said with satisfaction, "So you finally decided to look back, you little cat. If you agree to a one-on-one duel with me, I'll withdraw the spell." The little girl paused in thought for a moment. In that case, he might actually make a decent sparring partner. The corners of her lips curled up, slightly, calculating. Juicy proudly turned around and enthusiastically shouted, "Fine, I accept your challenge." Cloud did not understand what she was thinking, but he still snorted mockingly. "So you've finally given up on running away. Good. Follow me to the training grounds." The boy gave the order excitedly. Slowly drawing his sword, Cloud raised his voice in threat. "I'll smash that nose of yours flat." Looking at his confident face, the little girl thought to herself, "He was like this just now when he stopped me too." Quietly summoning a ring of magic around herself, Juicy made a silent assessment. He isn't on Ezekiel's level, but I can clearly tell he's a fairly strong opponent. The battle began. Cloud stamped his foot into a ready stance and shouted loudly. The little girl encouraged herself a little. "If I use my power to deal with him, it should be fine, right?" Then she also slammed her tiger paw hard against the ground, a spirited shout following right after. Cloud frowned, raised his sword, and yelled, "Come on." Juicy responded by springing forward toward him, only to abruptly stop when she realized the force of her power was stronger than she had expected. The little girl panicked. I need to reduce its strength quickly. But it was too late. Juicy's energy burst outward and blasted Cloud away. She hurried over anxiously. "I'm sorry, are you okay?" The boy, struck senseless, sat dazed beneath a badly cracked wall. His eyes widened, and his lips pressed tightly together as he muttered unwillingly, "So this is the power of a beast man? But attacks at this level can't defeat me." Suddenly, a noise rang out, cutting off Cloud's words. He looked up blankly, then jolted as he realized danger was coming. Juicy on the opposite side had noticed it too. The little girl thought anxiously, "No, if this keeps up, that pillar is going to fall straight on him." Juicy shouted in desperation, "Move." Her body rushed forward on instinct. Looking at the dumbfounded boy still sitting there, she suddenly felt helpless. Now maybe he's so frightened that his body has frozen stiff. Cloud had already given up, closing his eyes and lowering his head in resignation. But when he opened his eyes again, only one strange thought filled his mind. It doesn't hurt. At that moment, a soft voice suddenly called by his ear, "Hey." The boy looked up, and the moment he saw her, his face turned red. Juicy gently asked, "Are you alright?" Cloud stammered, "Why you?" But before he could finish, anxious voices came from the distance and cut him off. "What was that sound, princess?" Seeing this, the little girl quietly sighed in emotion. "Everyone got here so fast." Cloud asked in astonishment, "So you're really that cat from before?" The group realized how serious the situation was and hurriedly shouted, "Her Highness the Princess is hurt. Treat her immediately." The little girl turned her head and whispered, "Now you can relax." Then, before the boy could understand what was happening, Juicy fainted, transforming back into a tiger cub and falling into those small arms. A shrill cry of "Princess" rang out at once, while the little girl had already fallen into a deep sleep. In her dream, Juicy heard someone calling to her, "Tiger, white tiger." This voice, her blurry eyes slowly opened, and she saw a vague figure before her. Is that Ezekiel? He stood there, watching her with worried eyes. Juicy slowly remembered. It seemed she had fainted and had been brought back to her room. "I'm fine, don't worry." She let out a small sound to reassure them. Ezekiel gave a slight sigh of relief. "If it hadn't been for your necklace, something terrible might have happened." Hearing that, Juicy touched her neck. The necklace? Then realization dawned on her. "Ah, the pendant father gave me. Father said that no matter where I am, he will always protect me." Remembering that, the little girl's lips curled up slightly, and her mood relaxed as well. Slowly sitting up, Juicy looked around once before asking in confusion, "Ezekiel, what about the boy I sparred with, Cloud? Is he alright?" Zeta adjusted his collar and quickly reported, "Cloud is currently being confined at the Count's residence. His exact punishment will be decided soon, so please do not worry too much." "I sincerely apologize, Princess." The little girl asked in puzzlement. "Confined? Punishment? He's only a child." child. Ezekiel immediately explained, considering that he placed the princess of another nation in danger. That is already a very lenient punishment. Hearing that, Juicy froze for a moment. Of course, Cloud was the one who picked the fight first, which was why the duel began, but that accident happened because I couldn't control my own power. Her soft paw curled slightly. So if there absolutely must be a punishment, then treat it as punishment for injuring me, and let me be the one to decide what that punishment will be. The little girl turned to look at him, her eyes full of determination.